All right. We have. Hey, look, everybody! It's a Christmas episode. Oh, look how quaint this is. Silver's not even here.
So cozy.
Oh my gosh! You put in effort, and then people don't even come.
Typical.
We actually have a stupid amount of stuff to do, so we're gonna sort of set aside the pleasantries. I have a bit of preamble first. It's been my standing position, how I approach this podcast, to not really address other podcasts for a few different reasons. Primarily, I don't care about drama, so I'm not really like going to try and call out anybody because it's like, who cares? Secondly, especially with how small and unimportant this podcast is, us bringing up other podcasts and talking about what they talk about, it feels like clout chasing, sort of, like we're desperately trying to like piggyback on their popularity or whatever.
Yeah.
And also it's really boring to regurgitate the conversation somebody else has a day afterwards. And so oftentimes when I'll hear gay, yeah. Hello, Chance. You are gay. That's true.
These are facts.
So oftentimes a big topic will come out and one of the other big podcasts will talk about it. And I'll almost deliberately avoid having that as our big discussion simply because I don't want to have the same conversation that they did. Like I'm trying to retread the same ground or even avoid trying to make the same dang talking points they do. Like I don't develop my own flippant opinions on topics. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's like listening to other people puts their opinions in my head and then I just vomit it back up on the podcast. And I don't want to do that. I have my own opinions on things. And that's the danger of exposing yourself to a bunch of other stuff is you end up regurgitating a lot of their talking points.
Yeah.
So that it was always a deliberate effort to just avoid that. I'm not trying to clout chase anybody. Everything is derive on. Oh, you know what, Chance? I am the only unique individual that there has ever existed. So why don't you? I am the special
snowflake.
I am the special snowflake. Until I find out that I am also Tyler Durden.
No.
That reveal gets really, really disappointing. So the point that was my point. However, there's a podcast that airs on Fridays, and if you're in the nerd space, you listen to these sorts of things, you're aware of Friday Night Tights. I tend not to talk about other people's news, but they had on Zachary Levi, and it was an interesting discussion. And as I'm listening to them while I'm doing other stuff, I hear Zachary Levi's points, and I start having beef in the things that he's saying. And I'm like, well, it's just, and we're going to get into it. this is going to be a drawn out podcast of us responding to a bunch of the points that were made. Now, to be fair to their podcast, it's not likely that the guy is nice enough to go on that you're going to counter all of his points or push back on things he's saying because he's the guest. So
Sure.
I don't entirely fault them for not pushing back on some of his points. But goodness. And I like Zachary Levi. I actually like him. I think he's one of the better guys in Hollywood. I probably would consider him a really nice guy or somebody to hang out with. And he's probably one of the better people in Hollywood. But from his perspective, it comes from a very, we'll get into it. But as we are rolling into the holiday season, it's time we sit here and rant about other drama. And Chance is here along for the ride, so let's not drag this out too long as I try and figure out why that is not the image. So I'm going to break up a watch together, and we're going to... I kind of figured the best way to do this is to react to some of the conversation as opposed to like cut out stuff and awkwardly try and figure out how to respond to everything. So we'll start out with some of the stuff that he has to say.
Pulling all of these levers and pushing all of these buttons. And they kind of succeeded in that they started United Artists. And that lasted for a little bit. But that was untenable because back then everything was truly vertically integrated. Like the studios all owned their own theaters to exhibit their films. And so if you didn't have tons of capital to own all of your own brick and mortar theaters, you couldn't compete. And that's ultimately kind of what happened. That and egos and, plenty of other things. But anyway, that's a lot of, and I'll put a pin in this and I'll come back around it. But that's a lot of the inspiration of what it is that I felt.
Ross, is that why United Artists failed?
Did United Artists fail? Because they still exist. But so there is an aspect of this. Here's the thing. Like, yes, back in those days it was tough because, and then there's a whole. We always talk about Hollywood from the studio period as like being the beginning, but really there's a time before that. And the reason like why Universal wasn't one of the big boys, it was considered a lesser for a long time, is because they didn't do that early on. They didn't vertically integrate. They didn't buy their own theater chains. But no, United Artists, the thing is, as Hollywood has found out again and again, by the way, they never want to talk about the other founder, which is D.W. Griffiths, because, racism movie. But the issue that they run into is that someone has to hold the purse strings. Like, somebody needs to be the guy that says, yeah, well, we've spent enough. Well, which is something that studios figured out early on.
Yes, and that's one of my biggest beefs, is he starts complaining about executives are essentially ruining Hollywood executives and producers. We'll get into it as he addresses. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Very compelled to build, which is what I'm building in Texas, Wildwood Studios. It's in the lineage of United Artists because 26 years ago, I couldn't understand how I could do this. I didn't understand how I could spend the rest of my life working in an industry that is literally just backwards, and which is not to say that there's not like some really excellent people who work within the broken system. There's lots of excellent people that work within the system, but the system itself is not compatible with excellence. It's not.
I would agree. It's not compatible with excellence. I don't think my prescription as to why there's a problem is the same as his.
Yeah, I guess we'll get into it a little bit more, but like, yes, the thing is, this system, we talk about these big studios as if they are still the ones that existed, 70 years ago, when obviously they're not.
No.
and the how
Right.
they work and all this stuff is not the same. But good movies do get made still in this world.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I did a lot less of them, sadly, which is why we are where we are. I guess we want to delve into, because I just trying to get my own thoughts. I talked to my girlfriend about this and kind of like trying to lay out my ideas. But I mean, I'll hold off.
Well, because he brings up certain things, which could spark into us sitting here for 30 minutes having a discussion. But
not compatible with human flourishing. Making a movie is a miracle. Making a great movie is a miracle times 1,000.
Yeah,
and
stuff is hard.
Fortunately for people like Nolan and a handful of other auteurs, if they're able to really like show the world that they understand what it takes to make a great film, then they're the only ones where the executives go, okay, cool, we won't screw with you. We'll let you go and make whatever you want, because clearly we don't know what we're doing. But with almost everybody else, the executives need to kind of justify their own existence.
I don't think that's wrong. And this occurs in businesses across the board, not just executives in Hollywood, where we run into a situation where somebody has a job, and to justify their job, they have to make notes or make an adjustment, even if it's unnecessary, because they're in the position where if they don't say anything, then why are they in that job? I understand that. I understand being a Hollywood producer and you have to sort of touch things or affect things. It's not a perfect system, but he's going to allude to no checks on things, and I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, the other part of that is, he mentions, what was it, Nolan and some of the others, and he calls them auteurs, which is, they're.
I have mixed feelings about Nolan, but I do think he's a good director.
The thing is that he says that these directors, the studio executives, leave them alone to do their own thing, and it's like, but everybody else are like, no, they've got to stick their oar in, as it were. The thing is that these directors that the studios leave be, they've proved themselves.
Yeah.
They have shown through their actions that they don't need that supervision. These other directors, you can't just let them do their own thing. You don't know what they're going to do. They don't have that proven track record.
Well, and it gets worse, Jason, but let's let it roll on, because that becomes a big discussion about artists being free to do what they want, sort of thing.
So they're just sitting around and giving erroneous notes, at best erroneous, at worst very deconstructive, destructive notes that really mangle the entire creative process. And then, listen, when things don't work, they are very good at absolving of themselves of that failure. And when they do work, then they're really good at taking the credit and taking the lion's share of the money. Like, this is not a healthy.
Is it because they paid most of the money that they should take the lion's share of the money?
Probably more likely.
Yeah.
And the reality is that yes, that does happen. Absolutely. There's also times where at these
they let them do whatever they want to and it fails.
Yes, I mean, look at Heaven's Gate with Michael Cimino. Look at Bonfire of the Vanities with Brian De Palma.
Joker 2?
Joker 2.
Joker 2, yeah.
There is
James Gunn's Superman was hands off. He could do whatever he wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't always, knock it out of the park. I mean, let's be real. Sometimes you have to have the guy who goes like, wait, why?
And guess what? Sometimes heavy studio meddling results in a good movie when it otherwise would be a giant steaming turd.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, moving on.
Ecosystem, right? So this has been going on since the beginning. And what we're witnessing now is just 100+ years downstream of the brokenness that's already been around, right? What is happening now, it's all of that brokenness and unchecked powers and greed and ego and people that like to think of themselves as and have to kind of believe that they're somehow creatives because, listen, imposter syndrome is real. It's real for everybody, but it's particularly real if you sit in a chair where you are overseeing a bunch of people that are clearly more talented than you at what you do for a living, right? And some executives understand this. The best executives do for a living, right? And some executives understand this. The best executives in the past have been the ones who are like, they're really great producers. They put really talented people together, and then they very kind of gently might nudge here or there, understanding that there are certain things that you might need to include or not include in certain stories in order to hit certain demos or whatever. Like there's those types of things. But we don't have that by and large. We have a lot of people that are, again, trying to justify their own existence. And then you have what really started happening, I think, in the 80s, which was the corporatization.
Well, before we get to the corporatization point, he alludes to the fact that these producers aren't creatives and they think they are, as if creatives are some sort of special class ascended from the mud and built to create art, and you're not one of them, and don't mess with the content we're creating.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse
you know what the problem
me?
with that is, Rhett?
What's that?
Well, what's two of the biggest movies of the 20th century? Well, that would be Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz. Both the absolute brainchild and the vision of one producer named David O. Selznick. How does that work? I guess he's a creative then, huh? Even though
he can count as one, even though he's not part of the creative class, but he is a creative.
Producer.
Technically, he's just a producer.
And it might sound like I'm nitpicking some sort of point where he's like, well, these creative. No, he doubles down on the creative thing. And it's like, you need to let the creatives do they're separate from the rest of mankind in some respect.
Hey, Rhett, do you know another really predominant, former film producer? I guess technically still a film producer.
Oh.
Well, Jerry Bruckheimer. I mean, he never made anything good, right, with his producing? Certainly. Oh, wait, no. He definitely didn't make Top Gun or National Treasure or Pirates of the Caribbean or Top Gun Maverick. None of those. The Rock, Bad Boys. Oh, no. Oh, wait.
He just slapped his name on those ones.
Sure, yeah. He didn't have any input. None.
No, none.
He'll double down on it later, but let's continue.
Of Hollywood in a way, not that it wasn't already corporatized on some level, but when lawyers and accountants start to be the bottom.
I'm neglecting Chance's comments because I'm in a different window. Capitalism used to be about building the better mousetrap. Now it's about building the cheapest one while pricing your competitors out of the market and creating an endless buying cycle. Well, it depends on what you define capitalism as, Chance. Moving on, corporatism almost always causes a decrease in quality. I would agree, as long as we're defining corporatism correctly. Movies, music, etc. have all gotten worse because of executives who try to quantify creativity and turn it into a formula. Yes and no. There's plenty of examples of executives interfering in things that aren't going to work out, and for the better.
Yeah. And the problem with this idea that
line of decision.
Oh, sorry. Of this being a new thing is, hey, Rhett, do you know the term payola?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, well, it was a big problem with radio back in the day, where
huge problem.
They would pay radio stations to play their music, whether various record companies. Do you think that's not formulaic? Do you think it's why? But they made art. Certainly, it should stand on its own. No, they wanted it to be big. I mean, this has always been a thing where they're trying to find the thing that will appeal to the most people.
Well, and here's my problem. Because it's easy to sit here and go, well, the artists are trying to create stuff and the evil capitalists are trying to monetize. As if you deserve to have the means to sit and create and be creative and produce your art and have no interference, and the thing doesn't have to make money, but it gives you personal fulfillment, and maybe somebody kind of likes it. I'm sorry, but what you produce in the world has to make money usually, unless you're just doing it for the heck of it. Like,
Yeah.
so quickly we sit here and we go, oh, well, these evil capitalists who want a return on their investment on your dumb movie? Oh, how insane is that? I mean, we're supposed to sit here and expect large investments in these huge projects and then also don't interfere. I mean, he brings up later, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, he brings up later Batgirl. And he's like, well, we should have they should have released it and let it run on its merit instead of just like some write-off. And you do realize the reason why Warner Brothers is being sold is because of all of those problems, is because, I mean, let's release it on its merit. It loses a bunch of money, right? But at least they got to put out the art and see whether or not it was good or not. And then Warner Brothers just has to eat the loss, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why Warner Brothers is with like $40 billion in debt, is because they're just making stuff and not producing anything of value. Now, one of the bigger problems, I would say, that isn't addressed in this podcast is the problem that movies cost too damn much. Mm-hmm. They're too expensive. The budgets are too high, and it becomes almost impossible to produce a film that gets you a profit, let alone makes you break even. And the problem with a lot of those big superhero movies is they're running $100 million, $150, $200 million. In the case of some of the biggest ones, we're finding out that they're pushing $3. And it's like, what are we doing? The expectation that you have to spend $300 million in order, you would have to, there are movies out there that in order to break even, they have to get like $1 billion. That's absurd. Yeah. That's like a world-shattering event of a film, and that's breaking even on the amount of money you spend on it. And then to sit and shrug and be like, evil capitalists want their money back for giving you an absurd bucket load of money and then allowing you just run around and make whatever art you want. And then complain that they intervene because they're worried that it's not going to earn money. There's a reason why Batgirl didn't get released. It probably sucked. And they looked at it and they went, we're not going to earn our money back. The safest option is to can it and write it off on our taxes as a loss. And I understand the frustration of, look at all of these people that worked on it. The labor, the love, the effort. I understand that. But that is not in and of itself of value. I could put a lot of labor and love into my shit sculpture I have in the backyard. But you know what? That doesn't mean anything if it has no value. I could carry this pile of shit into a museum and try and sell it to them for $2 million. And they're like, well, it's not worth that. And it's like, but look at all the labor and the love.
Look how much effort.
Multiple people worked on this, put a lot of sweat and tears into it. There was a lot of squeezing it out into the toilet. Well, it's a pile of shit. Oh, well, you're just gonna have to buy it anyway because art, I guess.
Yes.
Christine's.
The artiste demands it.
How quickly we revert to, you should leave the artist alone to spend your money.
Well, yeah, it's my money now.
Have I gone insane?
No, and
you've just shown that you're not an artist, that you are a capitalist art.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
The thing is that if you look deep inside your soul and you had the soul of an artist, you would totally be on Zachary Levi's side. You'd be like, those evil corporate stooges how dare they put in their 2 cents about the money that they're going to be spending on us? They should just sign the check and shut up. I'm sorry, but Hollywood needs people to sit to tell them no more often.
Yeah. I mean, somebody at some point should have looked at Joker 2 and went, so you're undermining the first movie? Don't you think that's going to upset some people? No, whatever. I'm an artist. Yeah, I don't think this is a good idea there, champ.
No.
Also, it's really expensive to film in California. Is that really a good idea? No, we're going to film in California, and it's going to cost way more than it should.
Because tradition.
Yeah.
Tradition, everybody. He'll add more, but let's move on.
Not like, hey, let's go make an incredible film. Let's go put resources into that.
Yep.
And then let's let it live or die on its own merit, and let's really give it a chance. Instead, it was like, well, let's figure out the formula, guys.
I understand that type of thing can be anti-artistic. And I'm going to throw him a bone in a sense that I don't think one side should be dominant over the other. I think there should be this push and pull.
Sure. Absolutely.
Well, I heard a really interesting comment where it was basically like the death of art is basically art by committee, where they all sort of sit and decide, and sometimes the purest art is really just the original vision. Art. I know the natural tendency is to wax romantically about the meaning of art and what it means to human beings and mankind, and as if it has some ethereal quality and value. Our art is valued about as much as it deserves to, as in, if it's good art, it will gain more value, whether personal, emotional, or even monetary. And if it's bad art, it will not give very much value. And simply creation, though meaningful to the artist, it doesn't have an inherent value. And I know we're talking about art like it's this really important thing. Art's always going to be an aspect of mankind.
Yeah.
I don't know why we need to act like it's this desperate thing that needs to be preserved, and the value of art and how important it is. And I get it. And I get that diluting the vision of what you're trying to do is frustrating. And sometimes, as you have a proven track record, like a Nolan, you're allowed more liberty and more freedom because it seems like you know how to make something that people want to see.
You know what you're doing.
And you know what you're doing. I think a lot of the failures that we had in like Marvel is they took people with almost no track record and they put them into positions that they weren't prepared for. And then we got pieces of shit.
Yeah. Yep. And there is certainly an aspect of what is the one thing wrong with Hollywood? Well, there is no one thing. It's a combination of a lot of things. Right? Like the writers are worse than they've ever been. The executives are stupider than they've ever been. I mean, the role of producer is so watered down and bastardized now that it means almost nothing. I mean, there was that Star Trek show that had 21 producers?
Yeah, Discovery.
No.
There's no show that should have that many producers. I mean, it becomes a thing you give your friend because he shot you an idea or something. It's just absolutely asinine.
Well, and I'm not here to defend the producers, but it's like,
sure,
as if you're floating above the rest of them. Sorry,
exactly.
Ross, go ahead.
No, you're good. And it's just like, it's a combination of all these things of like, we have writers that can't write worth a shit. And the reality is writers back in the day lived like normal lives prior to making it in Hollywood. Like they were regular people. And along with producers that mean nothing and that don't know anything, along with executives who treat this, business or industry. I mean, look, yes, the auteur thing, it's over, like, in my opinion, and I think history bears it out if you view it with at least a somewhat critical eye, that like that auteur thing it doesn't work, at least not all the time. It can,
Every time you
Well, just
find
give-
one that's an auteur, that you run into a movie that's just terrible that they made.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, just give them money; they'll make something. It's like, yeah, they'll make something. Will it be good and make money? I don't know. Like, so like that's not the answer either. But like, you have to have some respect for this industry as it is. Like, you can't just go like, well, we spent 100 million on this movie. If we put 100 and made 1 billion, if we put 150, well, 1.5 or 2 times that, right? Like, well no, that's okay. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then
There's
they
a
just spend money
chance.
frivolously, and it's just like it's so stupid. It's just this horrible whirlpool of incompetence and idiocy and the weakening of these roles that like has led to this world that we're living in now.
Mm.
And it's not just any one thing. And this idea that, well, just let the artist be the artist.
Well, you know it's anti-artistic? Hiring writers, directors, producers solely based upon things like race, immutable characteristics. Yes. Well, we need
Yeah.
more women. Why? Does that, if having an extra woman, does that mean she's a really good director or writer or producer or whatever role
Or
she is?
anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've complained before where it's like, it's almost like you need somebody to sit there and be like, is this movie going to make money? Well, then no. But I want an artistic vision of people spinning on toilets in space. And I want it to be as authentic as possible. So we have to film it in space. And it's going to cost $200 bajillion. This is my vision. This is my artistic vision. And it's like, no. We're not going to spend that money. I know you're an artiste, but the answer is no.
Yeah.
I understand the frustration when you're
Imagine,
trying to create something and it gets diluted by producers. Go ahead, Jason.
I was gonna. You just brought this up, and I just latched onto it. It's like, can you imagine when they finally are able to actually film a movie in space?
Apparently Tom Cruise wanted to.
Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
And
That does not surprise me.
it was some Tom Cruise space movie. I saw an article today, and it fell apart because apparently the studio he was trying to convince didn't want to spend the money.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, yeah,
Because there's no guarantee in movie making that $1 that you spend on making the movie is going to equal to 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever number floats your boat here. There's no guarantee that you put $1 in and you get $100 out. There's no guarantee of that. We saw this with Joker 2. They thought that they could spend, what was it, $1 billion on the movie, and it would just double, triple, quadruple their
Oh yeah,
investment.
they spent
that's not
50
how
on
it
the
works.
first one, and then they put 200 million in the second one, thinking like, well, the
Yeah.
50 million made $1 billion, so this would be even better.
the highest grossing rated R movie up to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sanity.
And then look at the absolute dumpster fire that was the second movie. So the thing is that they do need a bean counter. I know that that's the pejorative, pejorative is probably the best way to say that right there. That is the pejorative, but they are necessary. You need someone who is actually good with money and can sit down and say, look, this is your idea. Your idea, we've floated it out into the marketing and nobody likes it. So we're not going to do it. I'm terribly sorry, but come back to us with something that will make money.
The Eva Green
I understand.
and Casino Royale standing over Bond's shoulder. They sent a financial person because he's spending the British taxpayers' money.
Yeah. The thing is that it's all well and good for an artist to make art, but if the artist is making that art on their own dime, who cares what they're making? It's their own money.
Look at
Let them
Megalopolis.
fritter it away however they want.
Yeah.
If you're asking me to foot the bill for your art, there better be something in it for me.
Well, and I was
I'm
going to
not
allude
just
to
gonna
this.
give you money and expect nothing.
I was going to allude to that later, but it was like, indie movies do exist. You can fund your own movie and make
Yeah.
your own art. It's he's acting like the only source of going through things is you have to work within the system where there are these producers and executives that interfere with your vision. And it's like, well, then fund your own movie and make your own thing.
Well, he does mention he's going to start his own studio.
Yeah,
but it's
great,
like,
great. That's a solution. Great.
well, and let's see how long this
Thank-
"let the artists do what they want" thing lasts.
Well, and until
Yeah.
until his studio is in the red for 5 years and in debt, and then he starts have to make decisions where it's like, yeah, that sounds like a stupid idea. We need to make a movie that makes money. It's attractive to sit here and talk about the artisticness of creating things. It's an interesting process. I'm not really into the artistic field. I mean, I've created things. I'm not an actor. I don't understand the emotional toll and the investment that people have in creating. I imagine it's great. I imagine commitment to a role and the process is probably addictive and exhausting, and there's probably a lot of things I don't understand about that. It doesn't mean that people have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that you deserve to make your art unfettered with no interference.
But I want to.
But I want to.
I want to.
Let's hear more what he has to say.
Clearly there's a formula, and now with test screenings, like they'll test screen something to death. And the problem is, like, listen, you go test screen something for this group of people, you're going to get a certain amount of feedback, and you're going to change all of this. None of those are filmmakers, by the way. You're test screening regular folks. Some of them might have a decent.
Okay, hold on. Hold on a sec. First of all, they're test screening because they're stressed out the movie's not going to do well. And they have had so many failures and been hemorrhaging money that they are test screening worried about whether or not the film's going to be received well. I don't know why they need some sort of credential in order to have a fair opinion on whether or not a movie's good.
Well, and they're not filmmakers. What are they?
So
Are we making this just for filmmakers? Like, are they our audience? What are you talking about? What's the point in that? And it's one of those things too, where it's like there is a point in there that I don't disagree with, like, that I do to some degree agree with. Like,
I understand his position. I get it.
yes,
Yeah.
like you can absolutely, test screen or like try and get the audience idea of what's going on, or what you think the audience's idea of what you should do is. Like, you can do that to death. You can overdo it. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But everything's a case by case basis. There's a reason why these things exist, and the reality is that they do work, at least sometimes. I mean, how well anymore, I don't know, but like these didn't just fall out of the sky. There's a reason they exist, and they have worked in the past. And there's, oh my god, so many movies that where they test screen, they test screen something, and it's like, oh, the audience hates the ending. They fucking loathe it.
Abyss.
Okay, we got to try something else. There's times where they try 2, 3, 4 different endings, or just making tweaks, changes here, there, the other.
Apparently, that happened a lot with Captain America 4. Audiences kept coming back where they're like, we hate it.
Yeah. Shocking.
Extensive reshoots.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so weirded out by the comment well, they're not filmmakers. So?
It's so stupid.
They don't know the pureness of the art that's being created. As it's a filmmaker. Look, I don't have to be a filmmaker to know I don't like something.
Yeah.
Now I'm an audience of one. So my opinion personally, how I feel about something personally, may not actually hold that much weight. But there's a reason why I don't like it. And maybe I am tapping into something that a general audience might feel about something. And so it might be valid to ask me a question. Why don't you like something? And then try and understand, why isn't this working and why is this working? Famously, the end of National Lampoon's Summer Vacation, they changed because the ending originally is they show up to Wally World and it's closed and they go home. You can't have a whole movie building up to going to Wally World, the journey, the trek, the horror, all of the drama, and then just go home. It's such a deflation and so disappointing. And I could see a writer director being like, that's hilarious. I'm disappointing the audience at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
I get that joke.
Yeah.
It's more satisfying that they kidnap John Candy and force him to go on the rides with everybody. That's actually kind of funny because they're like, we're not going home, damn it, until we go to Wally World.
I'm going to go to a pawn shop and buy a BB gun.
And it's a better ending. Is it funnier and weirder? It might be. If they show up and it's closed, they just turn around. But that's most audiences are going to be like,
they're not going to be satisfied with the payoff at that point. They're going to be supremely disgusted by what you did to them.
And they learned that from test screenings, that it didn't work.
Yeah.
People came back disliking the movie, and they changed the ending, and it became a classic.
Yep.
There's something to learn from asking the audience whether or not it's any good. Now, there's a valid point that there's always a difficulty when getting statistical analysis of the sample that you're getting.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, the biggest problem with the samples that they get are people in California. So they're going to bend a particular cultural and political direction. And then you find out that most of the test screening audiences are the same people.
Uh-huh.
That like to go to test screenings. So now you're basically getting responses from a smaller group. There are valid criticisms on how they conduct test screenings and how they sample these people. Valid. They should do more in the middle of the country. They should do more in other parts of, other places. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean they have no value or you can't glean something of value from how people are responding to the film. Well, no, just put out my pure art and then people will respond good or bad. And then the company can just eat the loss. Okay.
Yeah, let's see how that works out for you, bucko.
Let's continue.
It's an idea. A lot of them are just like, I don't know. I like this for whatever reason. I didn't like this for whatever reason.
How is that?
Go and make all these changes.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with I liked it for the? I don't know. I didn't like it or I like. What's wrong with that?
Because it's not my vision.
Yeah.
Because then you go test screen for another audience has completely.
That's exactly what it is. They are tampering with the director's vision. They are not the visionary. How would they know what this movie was supposed to be and supposed to mean? They don't. They should just butt out.
That's right.
And
the thing is once again, this comes down to making art for the sake of art. And that's not what you're doing in Hollywood. You're not making art for the sake of art. You are making art to make money. And if an executive knows what they're doing and sees that you are making mistakes, they should step in. They should say, you know what? Let's float this past some of our people in that are going to consume our product and see what they say. If they like it, we'll go with it. We'll run with your vision. But if they don't, let's see what changes we can make to improve things. Because we, at the end of the day, are not making art for art's sake. We are making art for money.
Well, at least in the studio system, you can make a indie film and expect no money in return. You're more than welcome to do that.
Oh, sure.
And this could come across like I'm trying to defend these producers and big studios. I'm not. Most of the wounds in Hollywood are self-inflicted.
Yeah, very true.
Let's.
And I get that you're not coming from that direction. I get that you're looking at it from the perspective of they are in the system and the system works this way. And this is the reason why the system works this way. And he is saying, well, we just need to tear the whole system down because it doesn't work the way that I think it should. Because we should just be allowed to have, as you know, a an unlimited credit card basically to chase our vision, and you people out there in the audience should just pay for it.
Well,
Why?
here's somewhere I'll intervene with. The system in Hollywood probably is broken.
Oh yeah,
They might even deserve to have most of it thrown out and then start from scratch, or think of things in a different way and build something else. Yeah, absolutely. Hollywood is busted as hell. They can't write.
Yeah.
They can't direct. They can't earn money. They spend too much to create mostly nonsense that's not responded to by general audiences. They alienate huge chunks of their audiences with political posturing and talking down to people. And Hollywood's very busted. And I understand being in that system and looking around and being like nothing's working. Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Is capitulating to all these random people that are not filmmakers in order to then Frankenstein together some film by committee that was already a film by committee because of the executives or producers that were in charge of it. That
Okay, make your own movie.
Yeah. Well, and like, yes, this does happen. This also is a way they save movies. Like, it's been a thing that's happened. Again, these processes didn't fall out of the blue sky. They came about for a reason. Now, whether or not they continued for a good reason, that's a whole other conversation. And again, I'm not denying that executives and producers are there are a lot of morons out there now. I mean,
Absolutely.
not denying that. It is a problem. However, it is not the sole problem.
Wes,
Unfortunately, it is multifaceted, the issue with Hollywood.
the corpse is rotted head to toe. And it's
Yes.
it is more than just one issue with executives that don't know what they're talking about meddling in the artistic vision.
still
Totally.
didn't know how to make a great film. So this is where we're at.
A lot of directors don't know how to make great films, just to add.
Yeah. I mean, look at Megalopolis. I mean, that is solely the vision of Mr. Coppola.
That is 100% his vision. And at the time when we reviewed it, as much as we lambasted it, I was like, all the power to him. He was intent on creating a movie based upon his vision, what he wanted to make, and he produced what he wanted to make, and it's exactly what he wanted to make. Awesome.
Yes.
It sucks balls. It's a terrible movie.
It is not great. It has some problems.
Many, many problems.
Yeah, this is why I mean, that's just part of it, right? Then you've got the issues with streaming. Listen, going back to your original question, how do I feel about Netflix taking over Warner Brothers? Man, I think that Netflix has some great things that they do and have done, right? I'm not going to just like shit on Netflix whole cloth. I think that there's some good stuff there. But I don't love that Ted Sarandos is not a big fan of the theatrical window. Like, he's on record of saying like, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks.
Can I say something that I'm going to guess 99% of people who don't listen to this podcast would respond to poorly? Just how do I phrase this in a way that you can understand? Make my pitch. What do movies deserve to survive, let alone the theatrical?
Yeah, right. Like that is
well, because they act like it's this institution. I as someone who's really into history, I was going to say is someone who has a history degree, but then it's like the logical fallacy appealing to authority sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, I'm really into history. I spent a lot of time thinking about it and reading about it. as does Ross a lot, and Jason probably somewhat as well. But I'm obsessed with history. I love it. And when you have that, you get this wider perspective, and you start to think about like the 20th century and how stuff happens in like the early 20th century, and it's really not, in terms of history, not that long ago. Like my grandmother lived before airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
I lived before the internet. We've had massive world-changing events, and people who we all sort of define existence because we're all sort of self-absorbed by our finite time period in it. But in reality, we are, I mean, 5 seconds ago, the internet existed. But if you were born after 2000, you're like, well, the internet's always a thing. And I could see, looking around and seeing the movie industry as this institution that needs to be preserved because it's important and it's a part of things. I thought about this earlier, and it felt to me like somebody who's an artisan at the outset of the Industrial Revolution, looking around and going, well, this is horse crap. All of the skills I developed in order to make a chair, and now they're just making them in factories and mass producing them. And there's no personal value. There's no artistic value. You don't get the handmade hand touch of somebody making the chair. And it's like, I understand, but this train's moving and it ain't stopping.
Yeah.
And guess what? Factories are going to make that chair more uniform with less flaws, and mass produced enough and cheaper than it would be for you to make the chair for me by hand. And your chair might be better, but guess what? A lot of the time, factory made stuff is just better built because there are certain standards, and oftentimes you can have cheap factory stuff. But the point is, it feels like somebody's sitting here going, but the film industry, but movies, theaters. And I'm like, who's to say that they deserve to exist or will? I know this sounds sacrilegious, but who knows what the future holds? Who knows where things are going? In Star Trek, they don't have theaters and movies. Now, they probably still exist like an archive or whatever.
Yeah.
Is somebody sitting around going, but the movie industry, or did it get replaced by the holodeck where you're living in the movie? It's a different experience. It's a whole different thing. It's also replacing the artistic value of seeing somebody interpret a role and the acting and the effort with the costumes and the lighting and all of these well thought out, purposeful members of the industry. But it's like, who says that even movies themselves deserve to be like somehow we have to intervene in order to preserve this industry because it has some inherent value in mankind and should never go away. And it's like artisans were a heavy thing before the Industrial Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're still around, and their products are cost more, and their products, people pay more for homemade, but most people buy a factory produced chair. And where this feels very similar to that sort of thing. Now, can I predict the future? Can I definitively say movies will go away? No. Can I definitively say it'll happen even if they do go away in 5, 10, 20, 100 years from now? No. But we act like this is something that needs to be preserved simply on principle because it's a thing that we have that has been around. And it's like, you look back not that long ago, like most of human history, we didn't have film.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Well, and on top of that, I mean, this idea that, like, look, this idea that it has to be preserved. The movie industry has been in constant flux since the very beginning. The movie industry started out on the East Coast. Do we associate New Jersey, New York with the movie industry? No. They left because they were trying to get out from under the thumb of Thomas Edison.
Yeah, they fled on purpose.
Motion
Not
picture
only that,
company.
but they had better lighting and weather on the West Coast to make their movies.
Oh, sure, but had
more
had
conducive.
Thomas Edison not had such a like an iron fist on it, it would have been either a much slower move or not happened the same way at all.
Right.
It was a combination of a lot of things, like cheaper land. It was a lot of stuff, but like, or should we preserve the version of the industry that was vertically integrated? Because well, what it won't exist the same. Like, well, yeah, it changed. Or is it before TV was a thing? Well, my movie doesn't belong on the small screen. Well, but this is how people are watching it now. It's just this industry has only ever been in flux. Yes, it's
And
had
change.
periods of stability,
Yeah.
but it will change in a heartbeat, in an instant, and it doesn't matter because that is the way things go.
Yep.
Change is inevitable. Movies are just another form of expression of the human experience, of emotion, of whatever you're trying to do. And it's one medium. And as is canvas and as is sculpture. And there was a time when sculpture was the height and it was the greatest way to see depictions of artistic value, and that industry went into decline.
Mm-hmm.
These things happen. And it'll shift and it'll move. And I'm not saying movies are going to go away, but I'm positing the idea that perhaps sit and reflect for a moment whether or not movies inherently deserve to exist simply because they are.
Yeah.
And it's like, do they?
No, yes, of course. Their mere existence means they need to survive.
They still make sculptures.
They do. Well, and in the world of, I mean, one of my hobbies is firearms. Individually made, like hand filed, hand fit handguns, or just guns in general, rather. Like they still technically exist, but
Yeah.
God, why would you want them to? Like, it's so much better to just be able to buy a part and throw it in the thing.
Well, especially when precision in manufacturing as well as replaceable parts are really important for that sort of thing.
Absolutely. And the reality is the best firearms are a combination of both. They are a combination of whether it's hand fitting it all together at the end, or taking the time to really prototype and make sure everything's down to the finest degree by hand and then implement that into mass production. Like yes, you need both, but like the one skill is still good to have, absolutely. But the reality is, like, for 99% of people, Jesus, you don't need all that. You just need the mass produced, firearm, whether it's for personal use, for military, government, whatever. Like, it's just, you don't need all that fancy shit. It's just not necessary for the way most people use those things.
There has been an attitude for some time in Hollywood that what they do is of extreme value. They were deemed a necessary, vital industry during COVID so that they could stay open, as if they were more important than farmers in grocery stores and people keeping the systems running. No, Hollywood is extremely important for the sake of mankind and needs to, by its very nature, stay open. They have a lot of sense of self-importance and overinflated value. Hey, I love movies and TV shows and video games and all sorts of stuff. I probably watch a movie a day. And that seems like a lot. But I do. Every evening, me and my mother sit down and watch something, whether it's a movie or a TV show or whatever. For most days, unless there's an exception, I watch a movie about a day. If the movie industry went away, I still wouldn't be able to watch all the movies.
No.
True.
And on top of that, by the time you got to the end, you could just go back and rewatch
Cycle
ones that you
back
kind of forgot
again.
what it was.
Yeah. Well, I have a habit of like movies I really like let's say Lord of the Rings.
Oh
I'll
yeah.
set those aside for a few years and then go back because if I
Hmm.
overwatch it, it loses its magic. But if I give it a few years in between watching, it's special again.
Yes. Yes.
And I love movies and I want good movies. I want more movies and good movies. But if they went away, like the survival of mankind doesn't hint like rely on the knife's edge of whether or not film industry succeeds. And that makes me sound
No.
dismissive of his industry, but I mean, art, it gives value and meaning to our lives, but it doesn't. It's not a necessity to everything. If all electricity went away and we were back to the Stone Age where we were sitting here banging rocks, we would draw crap on walls. We would find ways to express ourselves through another medium because human beings do that. There's a lot of self-expression. I mean, watch little kids. Some of the first things they do is they draw because they're trying to understand the world around them and they're trying to depict it in a form of art and they're trying to express how they feel on the paper. Art is an amazing thing that adds a lot to it. Film is just one of them. That doesn't mean it has an intrinsic value that has to be preserved.
Well, and on top of that, like let's look at this as rationally as we can, right? Like,
Sure.
all right, movie comes around, and because like when movies first started, they did not have credits. Like actors were not credited, partially because it was a little bit shameful, and partially because they didn't want to pay them more than they had to. But as it became much more of a predominant art form, well, that was a way to A, sell the movie, and B, like it was something to be proud of. Well, what were these actors doing before that? Well, they were in stage plays. Did stage plays go away because of the movie industry? No. No, they didn't go away. Are they the predominant form of art? Absolutely not. No. But like we still make new plays to this day.
Yep.
I mean,
Shrek the
Broadway,
musical, the beautiful.
Rhett's favorite musical ever, Shrek. Like I mean, the West End and Broadway both make it's billions to this day. They still make tons of money. Like it didn't just die. Like it still exists. It is just not the main form of art, and that's okay. Movies will absolutely go the same way. They will still be made. They will still be made, whether it's in the United States, abroad in Europe or Asia or wherever. Like they will be made. It's just they will not be the main form. Hollywood, as we know it now, as we used to know it, will not exist. And that look, I get that that's sad. I mean, there is some despondency or something about it, like maybe some melancholy. I get that. I think the thing for people that are really sad about that need to understand is that Hollywood hasn't existed for a long time.
The ideal fantasized utopian Hollywood that has never been a thing.
Yeah, it's like Hollywood oh, you go there and you make movies and you can make it in that town, and sure, but like as you know it, as it was, it hasn't been there in a long time. I mean, yeah, people still have their homes there, they still have their offices or whatever, but they, whether it's BC, Georgia, the UK, all over the place. They've been making movies other places. They just because of the status of being in Hollywood. They just keep their
Hollywood. Keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I was going to say Hollywood has been, like Rhett said earlier, this is self-inflicted. Hollywood has been working so hard to put itself out of business, and California hasn't been helping. They used to be really amenable to the movie studios and the movie industry itself because they realized that was their cash cow. They used it as a money source for the state, and then they started with the regulations, and you have to do this, that, and the other thing from the studios themselves. And now it's so expensive to make movies in Hollywood that other localities across the world have realized that and have begun to capitalize on that, begun to offer tax breaks and uh, other monetary and non-monetary incentives to pull movie productions into their area because they realize it's a cash cow for them. It's just going to give them more money.
And just to clarify, I don't think the movie industry is going to, well, movies are going to cease to be a thing anytime soon.
Yeah.
I'm just,
No.
when he talks romantically about how important it is to preserve Hollywood, it reminds me of the self-inflated ego thing of how vital an industry Hollywood is. And then it brought to mind, it's like, I mean, there is a conceivable future where movies don't exist.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what guarantees do we have? What we're going to see down? Can you see why I had beef with this conversation?
Oh, totally.
Oh yeah.
Let's let him defend himself, or at least set his position more.
Like, bro, sometimes it takes a movie 2 weeks just to get the word of mouth out there.
So they're supposed to just let sit on the movie for long periods of time, hoping that it gets traction.
Yeah.
Spending the money.
We're supposed to allow the movie to lose money until it makes money. So
I mean-
it should be staying in that theater until we get our money back.
Sure.
For people to finally go and see the damn thing in the theater, which is what we should be doing. And I'm not just saying this as an actor who benefits from in theater viewers.
No, I think he's passionate about the industry. I don't think there's any ulterior motive. I think he really is in love with the movie industry in theaters. No, I understand that.
Which
I understand that as well. It just was humorous to me.
Yeah.
Like, there's box office bonuses and there's various things that can be benefits to me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's changing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But take all that aside, right? There is something that we are missing as a group of human beings when we do not go and congregate together and have shared experience.
I don't know about that. I don't see movie watching as a communal experience.
No.
I don't have a romantic view of it where it's like, well, movie's not good if I don't see it with other people. I don't think that's true at all. It's
I don't
fun.
know. I don't disagree with the point. I think it probably doesn't mean as much to everybody. You know what I mean? I think he might be overselling how much that means to people. Like
A movie
'cause
has
there
to
is
be
something-
seen with a crowd.
yeah, there's something cool about going and seeing a movie in the theaters and even with like a bunch of other people, but I think it's not quite as amazing as he's selling it.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I can
Yeah.
grant
Yeah.
that the experience is different. That a movie might
Sure.
seem funnier and more enjoyable, experiencing laughs and drama and stuff with other people. I think comedies are more of an enjoyable thing with others. Drama, I don't think I gain more from an experience if someone next to me is crying during the film. I don't think, and I realize I'm a troll who doesn't contemporarily associate with the humans, but I don't find the communal experience of film of theater, the theater experience. I mean, I enjoy seeing movies with other people that I know in the ones or twos.
Yeah.
But I don't even think that's a vital point of the movie experience. But certain movies actually do experience differently in a crowd setting. I can understand that. Absolutely.
Sure.
I maybe certain movies just have to be seen with crowds, or I mean, sometimes you can't really get something from Demon Hunters if you don't go to the viewing where everybody gets to sing along with the film, I guess.
I'm thinking back to my own personal experiences, right? And the ones that I can think of where like the crowd meant more to me, like being there with other people was like really neat, at least.
Mhm.
I don't think it enhanced the movie. I think it's just a fun memory I have of what I saw there, and those are the opening night for the Fellowship of the Ring. It's like there's people showing up dressed up because that's before cosplay was like a huge thing. So I mean, there was a gal who was like a tall blonde lady, skinny blonde lady who was dressed up like Galadriel, like that. Like, you never saw that stuff. Like at least I didn't. You know, I grew up in Bumville. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. But like, you never saw that stuff. And like to my 11, 12-year-old mind, like that was really cool. And the other one being
Yeah.
when I was a younger kid, the Pokemon movie, because I love me some Pokemans, and going to the Pokemon movie with a bunch of other kids that love Pokemans, it was really neat. But neither one of those experiences, as fun as they were, as interesting as it was, it didn't. And like, I still think the same of those movies as I would have if I'd watched them on their own. You know?
Yeah. The communal experience probably is more valid when it comes to something like a play.
Yeah. You know what's funny is my girlfriend said something similar.
Yeah. You were
Yeah.
discussing the same thing earlier today, I guess.
Yeah, because I was watching this and I was like, and she was like, I don't agree that movies are made better that way. And I'm like, well, kind of hummed and hawed like I did this time, but like she mentioned like, no, I think with stage plays though, much
Yeah.
more so. And it's like, yeah, probably. I mean, I agree.
Great minds think alike.
Yes.
One thing that you can get with stage plays that you really can't get with the movie experience, well, they've kind of tried to with like Rocky Horror Picture Show, they've tried to make it more of an interactive experience and things like that. But definitely that uh, audience interaction is more possible with the stage play. Personally, I don't like it when you hear a lot of whispering and stuff in a movie, and so if there's a lot of audience like goings on around me, it for me it detracts. But for the stage play experience, we went to a play once called Noises Off, and one of the first things they did was the actors came on stage and they did their opening bit, and the actor who was playing the director was actually sitting in the audience with us, and we didn't know it until he stands up and starts talking to the people on stage, and it actually enhanced the feeling of the play. It was like, oh, that's really interesting because um, Noises Off is a play within a play, and so they're actually showing you what's going on behind the scenes as they're rehearsing and stuff like that. It ends up being a comedy, and having the act or the director who comes out and starts talking to the actors on stage, that was really interesting, and it made it a very interesting, pleasurable experience to be there. If I'd had something like that in a movie theater, I'd have been like, "Oh, this sucks. Go away."
I
Hard to focus.
it's probably an accurate word. I don't like that you use pleasurable though. A movie that did something similar, a Wes Anderson movie called Asteroid City, was also
Oh, yeah.
terrible because it's a different. It had 3 layers of there's the movie, and then they're making a movie about Asteroid City, and then they kind of break the fourth wall at the end of it. And it's like, I hate this film.
Oh, Rhett, would you have preferred the word sensual?
No.
No, that would be
Oh.
even worse.
I was worried, Jason, you were going to talk about a play, and then like all of a sudden, like the crowd are part of the play, and I was like, I would hate that.
Oh, Rhett would love it. I mean,
Oh, that
take Rhett to
that would be
task.
totally. Yeah, I would hate that too.
It reminds me of a Simpsons episode where they're watching, I think it's a Lion King or something, and Marge is sitting there, and she's like, I hope they don't interact with me. And then somebody comes over and tries to get her to dance with them in the aisle, and she's like, I don't
I don't
want
like it.
I don't want to be a part. I don't want to be a part of it. All right, let's just chug along. I knew this was going to be a long. I was like the whole preamble we usually do, where we lightly chat about stuff that'd been going on the week. I was like, this is going to be a long episode of us talking about what Zachary Levi had to say. Which I would prefer people talk about the problems in the industry, and I'm quite pleased with him going on a podcast. And most people seem to think podcasts and YouTube beneath them, but they're replacing the industry. So.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, they are.
absolutely. Yes.
Moving on.
When you go to a theater and it's a packed theater, and there's, let's say, a few hundred people in that theater, consciously, that not everybody in that theater agrees with you on all things. You're different people of different backgrounds, faiths, religions, political affiliations, whatever it is. You know that it's a mixed crowd, right? Probably. And yet,
And I don't
you
care.
can all laugh and cry in the same moments. So subconsciously, what you're learning is, we're not
He's assuming we all have the same, we value that communal experience the same, and we don't.
Yep.
all that different. We can actually kind of find these common areas where we enjoy this thing.
I like, to give him credit, I like the passionate idea of the art and movies can be a uniting thing, especially with how divided politically people tend to be as of late. I think that is a positive and hopeful way of how he sees the industry can actually add to and benefit people. I mean, I appreciate that. I don't think it's necessarily true, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate the sentiment.
Piece of art or this entertainment, you could be this and I could be that, but that's okay because we came together in this moment. And I think that the more that's being stripped away from us, it's very detrimental to us as human beings. And obviously, the obvious, when you have the number 1 streamer and the number 3 streamer.
We don't need to comment about every little thing, but it brought to mind the idea that we have a bifurcation in culture as of late with a lot of political division.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're getting is we don't actually share. It used to be that we all went and saw the same movies and listened to the same music and whatever. So there was a lot more commonality that bridged the gap with people who disagreed with each other politically. But we become so bifurcated that we don't even consume the same media as our fellow man, and having more uniting things in common. The problem with that is it isn't strictly just Hollywood being an issue. This is a problem across the board, and that's because everything's been politicized.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everywhere. When we talk about, we don't have things in common, and it's like, talk about the Oscars. The Oscars used to be uniting the thing that everybody watched. It was like the gay Super Bowl, they used to call it. Everybody saw the Oscars. It was one of the most watched things in the year. Now, if you watch the Oscars, you're probably by and large leaning left, because that's sort of the direction that Hollywood is, which, if you disagree with that, then you have no interest in exposing yourself to that sort of thing. And I get if you're left leaning and you're like, well, it's just because the other guys, that is not an empathetic way to view things. If you go, well, everybody should see these things because I think it's good or whatever, and they don't like it because they're bad, and it's like, maybe understand why they don't like it and why there's not a crossing between you two. I get if you make a movie that's very right wing and left wing people don't show up, and then you're like, why didn't left wing people show up? It's like, well, because you structured it for a certain audience, and a certain audience wasn't interested in it, as opposed to just dismiss them. And I mean, understand that what you're doing is separating your audience. That's just what you're doing.
Yep.
We don't need to drag this out super. For a second, I thought somebody's going to intervene, but let's keep chugging along.
Coming together. I mean, where are the monopoly and antitrust, regulations that are supposed to be safeguarding these things?
That's a bigger, separate discussion. Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Very much so.
I have beef with over large conglomerates dominating certain industries and pushing out competition. I do.
Paramount is less of a threat in that, but there's still, Paramount Plus and what they have to offer. I mean, I think that we need to have more competition, not less. So I
Agree.
don't think any of these options
Yeah.
are ideal. But also Warner Brothers, this isn't the beginning of Warner Brothers' woes. I mean, this all started when AT&T bought Warner Brothers and strip mined it, and then Warner Brothers, getting sold to Discovery, and all of the insanity that's happened since then. I mean, taking a movie like Batgirl, spending $80 million on it, and then shit canning the thing instead of giving it a chance for it to see the light of day.
Or just eat the loss, I guess, is the option.
Mhm.
Again,
Yeah.
not to rebeat that drum, but just because it exists doesn't mean it deserves to be put out.
It's a write-off. Whatever. It's a write-off. We're just going to write it all off.
Yeah.
And then Wile E. Coyote, fully finished film. All these people putting their blood, sweat, and tears into this thing and proud of this.
Once again, simply because you're proud of it and you put a lot of effort into it doesn't mean it has any value. I would venture to say, though, the Wile E. Coyote movie probably is a lot less of a financial risk for Warner.
Probably.
Just
Yes.
to say.
Yeah.
movie, and then for them just to be like, no, whatever, never going to see the light of day. We're gonna use that as a write-off as well. I just don't think this is good for any business or industry, but specifically one where creatives in the hundreds have to come together to create something, and then it just goes away. Even things that are full.
Once again, the description of creatives like they're a separate species of sorts.
They
They are.
beautiful angels.
They're delicate souls.
Pulling together and on these services at any given point. They're gone. We all live in a renter economy now. Nobody owns anything anymore.
Absolutely true. I don't like it. No one owns anything. Physical copies are going out. We don't own anything. Yeah, absolutely true.
Like, we got to get back to owning
Yeah.
real things again. I fully believe. So
Agreed.
anyway, that's my multi-minute
No,
rant on.
That's a damn good
No.
answer. That's a
That's a
damn
damn-
good answer.
Yeah, reflections on this first segment that he talked about. I know we're going to get comments here, and I'm going to have to awkwardly figure out the best way to skip to the next ones. But
There was a lot to unpack, but in a lot of ways, what I feel coming from him is that the studio system is broken, and they should just let us do whatever the heck we want and pay for it, and keep their noses out of it. And I definitely don't agree with that.
can I push
As
back a
far
little bit? Is that a? Can I push back a little bit?
Go for it.
Is that a charitable way to interpret what he said?
Probably not. I
mean,
do
from
get
your
the
perspective,
feeling-
that's what you're hearing. But what do you think he was trying to express?
I do get the feeling that he's expressing frustration over the fact that movies, as he sees it, movies are being ruined by people who don't know what they're doing.
Sure.
That they're making suggestions that are making movies worse off rather than better off. And he wishes that they would stop, and that there was a different way to go about the whole production process that had less studio meddling, if you will.
Not to summarize what you're saying, but it feels like he's speaking from the inside of an industry and a frustration of we're trying to create things, and if they would just let us create it, things would get better and we would make great movies. And he's sort of looking at it from an inside perspective, which his perspective comes across as a bit narrow from his position, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I mean, yes, I was definitely putting some words in his mouth, and I probably shouldn't have. But what I got the feeling of was that there was that frustration. But from my perspective, I want almost more studio meddling.
what we've seen recently with the way that I mean, obviously he sees it differently because he's an insider, but we keep getting these movies and television shows and whatnot that come out, and we kind of feel that the actors and the directors and the writers were maybe having a bit more freedom to do whatever they wanted rather than um, making something that was consumable by the public, and they were actually just doing whatever the heck they wanted for their own sakes, and doing what would please them more than what would please the audience, and then getting upset that we weren't joining in
I think that's a good way
with
to
their vision.
describe it. Yeah, and especially from the what pleases me more, as people are getting hyper political with the height of activism, and
Yeah.
you look at an issue that you care about a lot, and you want to express how frustrated and how much you care about this issue a lot, and you put it out there, and you find that you might not even be in a majority of people in that position. And your frustration, instead of this is important and everybody needs to hear how important it is to get angry that people aren't listening to you or even engaging with what you're trying to do. And now we're creating this, I want to preach and you're not listening to my preaching.
Uh-huh. That's exactly how I feel about it. Yeah.
I mean, there is definitely a lot more. Ross, did you have something, or are we gonna shift on?
I mean, kind of going off of what Jason said, like, you know, in a sense, wanting, well, even more studio meddling. I mean, I would take it even a step further. I think the way to to fix what is ailing Hollywood is to let it die, at least a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Let the disease kill it. I mean,
you might be
like
right.
I said, that Hollywood is gone anyway. Just let it go. Just put that sweet prince to bed, and then let the movies aren't going away. They will still be made in this country and in any other country. They just won't be made in an industrial fashion like they used to be. It's the same thing as stage plays.
Yeah, we are no longer the center of the universe when it comes to film production.
No, and frankly, anywhere that it will be won't be for much longer anyway.
I mean, it is decentralizing at a rapid pace.
Yes. Yeah.
This next segment's going to be highly political. It gets a little preachy with them talking about like Trump and the whatever. I'm going to do my best to skip through some of it, so that we could get some cogent conversations about the political climate. I'm going to do my best. Let's see.
You know, it brings up such an interesting point when you were talking specifically about Batgirl and the Wile E. Coyote movie. This entire move from current Warner Brothers, David Zaslav, and you got to give him credit because he's done exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to cut a bunch of fat. He wanted to make the company look more profitable than it was. He wanted to have all these exciting big IPs on the horizon for people to get excited about and flip this thing. It's exactly what he's done. Yeah. But in the process, like you said, there are a lot of people that work pretty hard on that shit that will never get to see the light of day. And
it's unfortunate, but simply because you work hard on something doesn't mean we have to see it.
I agree. More competition is better. So whether it gets sold to Paramount or Netflix, that's less competition. But it going to Netflix will hasten the end of the theater business as we.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Know it, period. I don't know if that's even up for debate.
No, it's physical media not. As well. When Disney bought Fox, that nixed basically 12 movies from the schedule every year, and that's
a valid point to bring up really quickly. As movie studios consolidate, they actually, because there's less competition and less studios, they actually produce less volume. So we do get actual less movies. Wasn't it you, Ross, the other day that mentioned that they used to make like 30 movies, 50 movies a year? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I think it was Warner back in the day. They would make 50 movies a year, which is insanity. But I mean, and it was all throughout the market.
But you
just-
can make a huge glut of cheap movies.
yes,
And
Yeah,
you can
they
use
made
that
everything-
as a
Mhm.
training for quality directors who will rise out of a lot of the glut of small films you're making.
Yeah, because we were talking about how what's changed. You and I were having this discussion just personally, and I brought up the fact if they were making 50 movies a year, I mean even if you 30 or 20, I mean you could bring in writers and you could have your top guys, but then you could be training up your people down in the lower tiers of of your market share, and then have them ready to go when either you're pissed off with your top guys or they're retiring or they're moving on to greener pastures or whatever, and you can bring up who were the new guys and have them writing movies or directing or acting or whatever. And it was this system that they could cycle people through. And that's been long gone now.
Yeah, and the best will rise to the top. The better directors will get better pictures and more expensive pictures. You're training writers. It's like developmental in baseball before they get to the big leagues. They cut their teeth on better on smaller scale, less risky films. Whereas every film now seems like every movie they make is put it all on red every time. Let's spin the roulette wheel and hope it works out.
Huge over time, right?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nope. You go ahead. We're good.
Brian and Zachary. So, everybody's going to be shitting on Netflix until Netflix buys Warner Brothers, and then they'll all go work for them. Let's just be real about that. The sad thing is they just put out a movie that I loved. It's my favorite movie of the year. It's Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's a great movie.
And I was able to go see it in a theater, Zachary, and it's great on Netflix. It's 1,000 times better in a theater. It was just better watching that. And then we did have that communal experience, and hearing people actually react to it was brilliant. And we're going to lose that. We're also going to, and you just mentioned, we're also going to lose physical media immediately, and Warner Brothers was great with physical media. They were actually one of the better companies with physical media, and losing all your DC films, all your DC animated films.
Yeah, the future is changing. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we can lament that things are going in a direction that we don't like and it makes us uncomfortable. But
totally.
We can't stop this train. It's going to blow right through us.
Yeah, sadly. And it, like you said, it's fine to lament that. Like I miss being able to go to any store, Walmart, Target, whatever, and look through the DVDs or Blu-rays and pick stuff out. And now the options are dwindling quickly, and that is sad.
I really liked rental places because you could peruse and look for movies you wouldn't even thought of.
Absolutely.
Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. Like, these are things that won't get made anymore. They'll just be on
I don't think that's a given.
Until they're not. Until they're pulled for some reason.
I don't think that's a given that they won't be made anymore. They might be bad.
No.
Yeah.
To save driver space.
I think they'll still get made because people will still see that there's money to be made on those IPs. And instead of making it a movie going experience, it'll be a streaming experience.
Yeah.
Incredibly expensive. And that's where we are. I just did a video on this, Zachary. Like, the studios can buy theaters now. Like basically the Paramount, I think it was the Paramount antitrust, that's been mostly lifted to where they can. I was really critical of Hollywood during COVID. I was saying the studios should just go and save the theaters themselves instead of the taxpayer. We flip the bill just to kick the can down the road right now. And then now Netflix is going to come in and not show anything in the theater. And I like going to theaters. I wish they made better stuff. But one of the biggest mistakes Hollywood has made over the last 5 years, aside from all of this attrition beforehand and the entropy, was really going after half of the country publicly, choosing a side and, pissing off half the country.
And that was one of the bigger flaws of this last 5-10 years.
Oh yeah.
is hyper politicizing the industry, which damaged your reputation. I mean, I'm trying my best to think from a logical perspective whether or not the movie industry. I'm not trying to take this in emotional direction, but it's hard to root for the industry when they've been shitting on half the country for like the last 10, 15 years. I mean, if not longer, but much more aggressively publicly. And it's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Who cares about Hollywood? You can burn for all I care.
And on top of that, I mean, bouncing off your like, it's hard to care. It's also hard to care where, let's say you do agree with what they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, but let's just say, on top of that, it's hard to care when they refuse to pull the nose up. They just keep doing the same thing over and over again, or like the stupidest variations on a theme. Thinking, well,
Eventually
this will
will
be the
convert
one this
you.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just make a change, for God's sakes.
And then-
No, we're going to still spend $180 million on a movie we're pretty sure ain't going to work.
I mean, imagine an industry that exists where they produce a product. Let's go back to my chair example. And then you make the product and you put it out there and nobody buys it. And you're like, screw those people. It's their fault that they're not buying my chair. And
Rather
blame.
than going
buy
back to
it,
the drawing
what
board,
changed?
figuring out why nobody liked the chair and making a new chair.
Is my chair ugly? Is it uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Ask a bunch of
Oh.
questions. Why is this chair not selling? As opposed to look around and being like, these stupid misogynist, sexist, racist pieces of shit. Well, I don't want your chair now. Or just make a chair that has like political slogans. So it's like suddenly a bunch of people don't want to buy your chair because it's like, well, I don't
Yeah.
agree. I don't agree with your message.
So this is kind of an aside, but speaking of chairs, my boss, a couple years back, he was my boss and not my boss anymore, but he bought a chair that looks like a little like the Emperor's throne from Star Wars. And it looks plush. It looks comfy. You sit down in it and you want to get out of it right away because it's so uncomfortable.
I've been through a lot of chairs, especially when I'm tall. And I found on principle, you got to sit in it before you can tell whether or not it's going to be any good. But yeah,
I
regardless.
saw it online and was like, "Ooh, we got to have that." Ordered it, and we're like, "Oh, this is the worst chair we've ever sat in."
Well, and some chairs you have to they have to be worn in a bit. But anyway, let's keep chugging along.
Which hasn't helped. There hasn't been a balance politically, and you felt that more than anyone. You actually stepped out, spoke your mind, which was freaking brave. And I don't know all the consequences you paid for it. I'm sure you might have paid.
He expressed himself politically, just like everybody in Hollywood wants to. And Hollywood has a specific political angle, and they have a habit of ostracizing people with different opinions. And it is a busted aspect of Hollywood. Absolutely. We don't need to retread the political issues going on in Hollywood at the moment. I would really like to address a lot of the other problems. So let's skip ahead a little bit, see if we can't pick this back up past a bunch of the Trump conversation.
And actors and even, fans, like creating Nerd HQ down in San Diego Comic-Con for years and just trying to give back and have fun with everybody and like really break down all those barriers. And how quickly people will just be like, well, he's a MAGA now or whatever, and fuck that guy. I mean, that was the hardest part.
Yeah, the ostracization, especially in Hollywood, that complains a lot about the era of going after communists, definitely ostracized anybody with dissenting opinions. That this was an era.
And if you think they're wrong, you need somebody with a contradictory opinion in
Be able to live with myself knowing that I didn't
Okay, Disparu actually makes some very good points, so I'm going to let him speak
do
here.
at least everything that I could do to try to get people to wake up to the fact that we are literally flying off the rails. And here's the thing, even with Trump and this administration, we're still struggling. There are still so many things. There is still so much nonsense. I mean, I don't know. I'm very concerned for us and AI and where AI is taking us right now,
it becomes a massive. It becomes a massive AI discussion later, which is the second part of the huge issues I have with this podcast.
I really do not think that most people have any clue what's about to happen in the next 5 years if these things don't get checked. And the reality is they're probably not going to get checked because you can't get all of the American AI companies to slow down because they've all convinced themselves, well, China's not going to slow down, so we can't slow down.
Yep.
So it's just mutually assured destruction.
It's a lot.
Like it's insane where we're going. So
no
anyway,
restrictions because of the law.
Well,
I'll
it
say
is
this
interesting.
Oh, go ahead.
It is interesting what you said though about the communal experience of watching a movie together means that you're aware that you're with other people, and it does seem that Hollywood doesn't have that counterbalance back. If they are willing to get rid of a whole load of people, that means that in their movies they're only going to be pitching one side of the message to that group of people in the audience, and that means you're going to have one side that really agree with it and the other side like, why am I being called evil? And you spoke about the American president. I'm British. I have no dog in that fight. Doesn't really matter to me either way what it is. But so the thing is, you're not just telling half of America, you're telling half or more of the world. And they never seem to ask the question, what happens if some, all, part, a bit of the truth is on the other side? Because if you're telling a story which is a lie, no one relates to it. Everybody knows it's a lie, whether they realize it or not. There's something in them. It's like, this does not make sense, and they reject
it. And I think this politicization and the activism in messaging has been one of the biggest damaging aspects of storytelling in Hollywood. That they're actively scaring away huge chunks of their audience to the point where huge parts that used to be champions of Hollywood are now looking at them with disdain.
Yep.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
the story, and it harms box offices. You need, even if you think they're wrong, you need somebody with a contradictory opinion in the room to strengthen your own argument.
That's a very good point. Even if you have a political message, exposing yourself to opposite points of view strengthens what you're trying to say and makes you more persuasive.
Yeah, I mean, some of the, this is an extreme example, but like, there's some really amazing stories that came out of the Soviet Union because they were trying to get a point across in a lot of opposition.
About what you're saying in the movie. And it just seems that's what Hollywood's lacking now.
I agree, brother. Listen, I wish that there would be some understanding of that. The problem is that we have all, as a people, by the way, in this country and in the UK and really all around the Western world, we're being propagandized so heavily that to even consider having a conversation with somebody on the other side is blasphemy. That's making movies, television shows, video games that appeal at least a little bit more to that demographic probably wouldn't be such a bad idea, as opposed to ramrodding lots of agenda that even, by the way, people on the left and in the center are kind of like, I'm fucking over this. Like, why do we?
Yeah, and we've had this agenda conversation multiple times. It's a problem. It's a big problem for Hollywood. And from a lot of people's perspectives, it's been the main problem to turn them away. But there are inherent multifaceted issues from the ground up in that industry anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Why do we have to have this as a plot point in the story? It makes no sense.
Because they have an agenda.
It doesn't move anything forward. I'm being preached to within the setting of what should be escapism.
Which stories aren't political, they're moral. That's the difference.
When I first heard this the first time, I don't know if he's wrong. It's an interesting point to make. Do you agree with the fact that stories aren't political, they're moral?
I guess you could make the argument that some of the most long-lasting, like impactful ones are more moral than political, certainly. But
it seems obvious to me that you can have a political story, but maybe what he was trying to say was more along with what Ross was trying to go for, where a story is more impactful, longer lasting. I mean, just look at the original Disney Snow White cartoon and the recent remake. original is considered a classic and still is watchable, and the one that just came out is considered a train wreck and is not watchable in any way, shape, or form
Well,
because of the political messaging they tried to jam into the story.
well,
They tried to change it from a morality tale to a political tale instead.
well, sure, but I think we're avoiding the point he's making. I think he says stories aren't really political, even if you make a political movie or a story, that they're more about morality tales, even if the political message is in there. They're speaking about morality.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I guess
I don't know if I 100% agree with that. It would take a lot of sitting and trying to find examples that would counter that. But it's an interesting point that I hadn't thought about.
Yeah. I hadn't
not
thought
about-
of that either. I mean, it could be why we feel so off-put when we see these political tales, because
The
we're
story feels wrong.
yeah.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Trump, it's about what is right and what
Yeah.
you should do in any action, in any situation.
Yeah.
And we're not even looking for stories to, be directed at us. We're just looking at stories that are not going to alienate us. And that's
Balance.
what
Just
the
entertain.
majority has been. But you said something.
Well, Zachary, and I think he alludes to somewhere later in case we skip it, but I'd like to bring up the idea that there's an expectation that you should have balance in storytelling with politics. The answer is no.
Yeah.
You don't need balance. You don't even need to have to stop making political movies.
No.
The problem is a few things. The condescension, the
Yes.
preaching, and the expectation that everybody should be willing to consume your messaging. When you make a politically minded movie, which you're more than welcome to do, and half the country doesn't show up for it, I don't know what you expected was going to happen. And maybe that sounds insane, but sure. And in an industry that expects to bring in the right wing and get them to watch their movies, and then you talk down to them or you preach to them and then they go away, then that becomes a problem. I want good stories and I want good storytelling. And I'm not opposed to being exposed to opinions and ideas that I disagree with. The problem is the
Right.
presentation and the constant preaching. I don't think you have to have the artificial, well, we need a right-wing movie and a left-wing movie. Or even in the movie, we need a right-wing guy and a left-wing guy. It's absurd that I would consider that anti-art.
Yeah.
You shouldn't really have to be doing those sorts of things. Tell your story. Just understand that it is also an industry that has to make money. And if you're going to be preachy and political, you're going to alienate huge parts of your audience and then they're not going to show up. The best option, if you're going to have something like this, is you have your big general audience movies with uniting principles that everybody can get behind. And then you spend less money on your preachy political claptrap. As
And you
opposed to
expect your preachy political claptrap to do poorly.
yeah,
And that's why you're spending less money on it.
or at least be directed at a much smaller chunk of the consumer base.
Well,
Because you can have a
Yeah.
successful left-wing movie. It's just you have to get all the left-wing people to go to the left-wing movie.
I guess what I should say is that you expect it not to make as much money as your uniting blockbuster.
Yep.
You expect it to do less business because you're targeting it at a smaller audience, and because of that, you reduce the budget accordingly, so you still make money on it.
I would prefer a lot more uniting movies that speak on principles
Yeah.
that we can all agree with.
Yeah.
Those are the inspiring movies, like your Lord of the Rings, good adventure tales with positive moral messages, characters that we want to root behind. I mean, imagine if we're watching it and then just, well, Sam's kind of gay. And it's like, ugh.
And And Sauron's not really evil. He's just misunderstood.
He's misunderstood. Yeah. Well, look, now you've ruined it. You've ruined the movie.
Yeah.
But let's chug on.
And Zachary about like speaking out and everything. And look, all of us have gotten to know each other on this panel because we were tired of seeing Hollywood propaganda and alienate.
Okay.
The studio, in part, that's one of the things I'm trying to solve for. Like, if I can create a place, I'm not trying to create like a Republican conservative studio. I'm just trying to create a libertine studio where people.
Describing it as libertine makes it think it'll fail. Not to be a downer.
Yeah, that's a word most people either don't know or don't have positive associations with.
People of differing opinions and backgrounds can work together, and everybody's allowed to have an opinion.
And that's the best approach, right?
Everybody's allowed to
Absolutely.
say, hey, I think this and I think that, and without fear of reproach, without fear of like you're going to get blacklisted or graylisted or blackballed or whatever.
I'm going to get slightly political, but not in a way that's really going to offend anybody. A lot of the fight that's been going on in Hollywood and movies and media is sort of a microcosm of the greater cultural conflict that's been going on heavily in America, but globally as well. And people talk about, we need to be more united and cross the aisle and yada, yada, yada. And it feels like, not that they're wrong, but it feels like they have a fundamental misunderstanding of what democracies, and at least America more specifically, is supposed to be. When people approach politics, it's not about uniting, it's about trying to rally everybody behind your position.
Right.
It's more about winning than learning how to associate with other people, sort of on the political spectrum. It's picking a fight as to see who will finally rise as the dominant power. The problem with that thinking, which both sides do, with this weird assumption that eventually their opinion will be proven correct and they will rise to the top, is people who disagree with you will not go away. That 50% might be cowed and marginalized that disagree with you, but they won't go away. The residing, important, vital principle of any democracy or republic in the case of America, which is what this country's been based off of, is not everybody agrees, is we can all live together despite everybody disagreeing. And that is a vitally different point. Everybody thinks that we all just need to get along and all agree, and finally the Trump argument will dominate everything and we'll all just be Trump people, or we'll all just be left people, or whatever. That's not how this is going to work. And none of them account for the idea that you're going to have to live in a world with people you disagree with vehemently. The point of the country was to create a place where everybody lived together despite disagreements. No matter where you go, you're going to have to associate with people you don't agree with. Period. And you sitting here lamenting the fact that people that you dislike their opinions of exist will not make them go away unless you intend some sort of purge. This is the world we live in. So instead of trying to ostracize huge chunks of your country or your audience in the case of movies or video games or any form of pop culture media that exists right now, perhaps understand that you're just going to have to live in a world with these people. You can't throw them out of the window of your helicopter. They're not going away. This is just a thing you're going to have to live with. I mean, you could talk about allowing other people's opinions and having discourse. Discourse is probably the most important thing, more than finding common ground, because discourse allows you to discuss your differences without coming to violence. That's more important than really just, we need a kumbaya and hug each other. What you're talking about is consolidation. What you need to do is learn how to live with people you don't like. And that's a hard thing to do. And that's sort of the point of the country. It at its essence, is an experiment where we can all live together in a government and have disagreements. And the government doesn't just dominate, one political party doesn't just use the hammer of the government to dominate each other. But the intention seems to be, through the culture and through everything, is not necessarily to learn a way to live with the other people you disagree with, but to supplant and eventually win the culture war, which will never win. It'll just become bloodier and more violent and more terrible. There will be no victory.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I also want to say, sorry, go ahead, Ross.
No, go ahead.
One of the things that I'm sure all of us caught, but he was like, I want to create a place where, people will be able to have their own opinions and express them and not be ostracized. And to me, there are ideas that are bad ideas that should be ostracized so that we get rid of those bad ideas. I don't want to have these bad ideas floating around and people thinking they're okay because there's no pushback against them.
Well, where's your limiting principle?
And that's a problem.
Well, I'm asking you, Jason, where's your limiting principle?
In what way?
When it comes to bad ideas, what limits it? Because the idea today is you disagree with me on this minor factor, and I'm going to extrapolate into you being a member of a party in Germany in the 1930s.
Right.
Simply ostracizing people because of disagreements is not a solution, but you can always take this to the extreme where there are things people have opinions of that are horrific.
Yes. And
so where's your limitation here?
I'm not saying that we should ostracize the people. I'm saying that we should push back against the bad ideas.
Well, pushing back is a different thing. And they have sort of a kumbaya of like, oh, this, and this. It is important and vital to democracy that we disagree with each other.
Yes.
Instead of forcing people to shut up or whatever. I don't have a problem with the idea of, oh, well, everybody can do their own thing and they can they can have different opinions and we don't get ostracized. It's like, no, we're supposed to be able to disagree with each other and debate and express those opinions and say, I hate this movie and not be lambasted for not liking a thing or liking a thing, or these are core principles that have to exist. But people get upset when it's like, oh, well, I don't like when people disagree with me. Well, suck it up, bucko.
Yeah.
Once again, we don't need to retread massive political discussions, but anything we didn't. Something related to the discussion at hand before we move on?
No.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
And I think that if we can do that, when we do that, and there's a place for people to work, and they know that they can still work, then maybe they'll feel more empowered to take a stand, right? If the only source of our employment is legacy Hollywood, then we have a problem.
Agree. That's why it needs to go away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a bottleneck for all of it. By the way, it's all crumbling anyway.
Yeah. So let it die. Don't try and prop it up or preserve it. Just let it die.
Yeah, I think the rot's too deep.
Let that core rot away and shrivel up and just die.
Start over.
Building Wildwood, I've wanted to build it for 26 years because Hollywood has been broken in so many ways. And also every other kind of, our schooling, our education system's broken, our health and wellness is broken, our agriculture's broken, entertainment. But also solve for all those other things because we're worthy of that. Because our kids are worthy of that. Our future generation, this singular ecosystem that wants you to shut the fuck up. Do not say, if it's not going to be exactly what our talking point.
Yeah, we've addressed it before. This is a core problem with Hollywood. The single-mindedness about the correct political position that you're allowed to have and then pushing people out that The notorious I'm a Republican in Hollywood, but I can't tell people about it. It's whispers in
Yeah.
back rooms sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100%. Yeah, it's a problem. There is a problem in the culture in Hollywood. Yeah, I mean, the current culture with the Republican thing is bad, but there's been cultural problems in Hollywood forever. Why preserve this horrific monstrosity?
Points are, then shut the fuck up, stay in your lane, and then maybe we're still going to judge you. You know, I go.
And maybe, but Elon guaranteed it.
My
Yeah, we get
opinion,
more
not yours,
political.
Zachary. Obama was Mr. Hope and
Yeah,
Yeah,
skipping.
pretty
in New
soon.
York.
Yeah.
And part of that culture, I mean, like Hollywood played its part in perpetuating this divisiveness,
Yep.
right? And so did everything else, you know, right? And so did everything else, you know. They weren't alone, but so did everything else. And the one thing, you know, Jeremy brought up earlier is like I don't need my politics in a movie. I just want balance. I want, you know, somebody like Rob Reiner to speak his mind.
That's always going to be what I look.
Do stuff, and then you'll never hear from them again. And it felt and do his own movies.
They talk about political issues, and then Epic Mike talks about sort of internal problems with the culture in Hollywood. All of these are valid issues.
And find success, and people remember that's why we like movies. And he's like, yeah, I know, because that's why I got into it. People, instead of them falling through the cracks, and to be able to keep doing what they love, which is just making good stuff.
Not to reiterate a point, but simply because it's something you love doesn't mean you deserve to do what you love and make your living off of it. Not to be overly practical and realistic, but I might love doing something stupid, but I can't eat stupid.
We want to fight about movies. We don't want to fight about identity politics in movies. We want to.
Why does identity politics have to be purged from movies? I mean, it will make money or it will fail on its own. I mean, I get hating the political messaging. I absolutely do. But it's like, so they can make their political ideology movie. Fine. And then I can make a video about how much I don't like it. I think a lot of the frustration in the nerd community is the inserting political messaging into movies that didn't really have that before. The sort of converting general nerd culture stuff, like taking Spider-Man and inserting stuff that wasn't there before. And I think that's where they really start to get upset. It's like they want to argue about the nerdy stuff. They don't want to sit here and be like, why is Mary Jane talking about slavery or whatever? That's where it becomes a problem. Whatever. Just make your mega game movie. It's fine. Do that.
Fight over nerd shit in movies.
Yeah.
That's what we want to get back.
Star Trek would present an idea. It would be a complex idea, like a philosophical one. It would show you the different sides, and you could choose which crew member you agreed with. And yeah, the show would come to some kind of conclusion, but you could debate that kind of topic on its own merit without it being linked to reality in any way, shape, or form.
It's a different era, man. Nobody wants to sit there and have interesting, thoughts about moral and ethical issues. We got to have explosions and skibbity toilet. Cultures evolve.
Yeah, times have changed.
Form, basically forever, and you would always come across with your own, like you're a child, that you need to learn this, you need to be told this, because this will,
setting up, whether it's like.
If it sounds like it's skipping, if you're listening to this just audio, I am skipping partway through. I'm trying to skip a lot of the heavy political discussion, just so we just don't get bogged down and everybody filleting each other over agreeing, politics stupid.
Councils or groupings to oversee, like here's a group of directors and a group of actors and a group of producers and writers and set decorators and prop masters, and we can kind of oversee, similar to what the guilds and unions have done, although I think they're all going to.
I don't think that's a system that's proven any track record of success.
No.
Like a guild system with an overseer group of directors. So you get an insider boys club that put up obstacles when they decide they disapprove of certain people and how they're getting involved with stuff. It really needs to be more decentralized and more competitive
Yes,
than anything.
absolutely.
I mean, they've already kind of got that system right now.
I mean, we don't need protectionist systems in order to. No, I vehemently would disagree with this.
Yeah.
Go the way of the dodo, to be perfectly honest, because again, AI is about to fucking eviscerate everything. It's going to eviscerate everything. For years, I've been banging this drum, and people kept saying, "Oh man, like you're just an alarmist, and it's going to be fine." But the exact example, not even like a general example, but the exact example I would use constantly was very soon studios, and I would use Disney as the example. It's not that they themselves are going to be making a bunch of AI content right out of the gate. They will let you, the audience, make it. They will let you have access to their entire library of IP, and you can go and mix and match whatever you want and say, I want a action adventure treasure hunt on Mars starring Indiana Jones and Luke Skywalker and the cast of Avengers and Flynn Rider, because why not? And they're fighting killer clowns from outer space, and it looks like Steven Spielberg directed it, and it was scored by Hans Zimmer. Enter.
That sounds amazing.
And then this, I know, right? Right? And this one-of-one masterpiece is right in front of you that you have been told you're the filmmaker. Like, that's going to be part of the nefarious angle on this, is that it will program the audience to believe that they're real filmmakers. You're the film.
Yeah, so here's where I have another massive issue. He's talking like there's some sort of elitist upper class perspective of, well, you're not the filmmaker though. You're not the filmmaker.
You didn't go to film school.
You didn't go to film school. You don't know what it means to be a true artist. You're not a creative. Excuse me?
It's gatekeeping right there. And
Yes.
gaslighting.
Yes. I understand that how things are done where you have directors and writers and producers and stuff. This certain positions might be consolidated or disappear, and movies might be made dramatically different. And simply because AI will open up the ability for people to explore storytelling on a personal, individual level and not have the sort of industry of production of film and acting and whatnot, and it'll devalue the artistic integrity of what they were able to create before. Yeah. So
my precious system.
But my precious art.
Show us where the value is. Give us the value, and we will stay away from the AI stuff.
Yeah.
But you haven't shown us the value yet.
People still want to.
If we can go to AI and say, "Hey, make this exact movie that I want," why wouldn't we? Why would we go to you when you don't make movies that we want? When you preach to us, and when you call us names when we don't bow down to your artistic vision and worship at your feet? Why wouldn't we go to somewhere else to get what we want?
Well, and I think this discussion is a lot less of they're even alienating. It comes down to the basic principle of creation of art and whether or not the new era of AI being able to make a movie that caters to my personal experience and whether or not that's really art or what we should think about when it's relation, like even casting aside the vitriolic tendencies people currently have towards the industry. Now he's simply talking about the fact that you're able to make your own thing is inherently bad. That caters to your own sentiments and your own. I would venture to say that you're still going to have. It's like people still value paintings, even though they can Photoshop something or take a picture. Like there was a belief that photographs were going to replace art, like hand-drawn art.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't.
And they became their own art form.
And something that's created by hand became more valuable and more, I don't know what's going to happen in this industry, but what's your solution? Don't let them.
Yeah.
Protect my industry. Don't let them do their own movies.
Yeah.
What's your solution? A gun to the head of the kid sitting at his computer? Stop him. He's going to make movies on his own that caters to his own personal interests and desires. Prevent that from happening.
Illegal.
But yeah, make it illegal. That's essentially your solution. Preserve an industry that basically has to figure out a way to evolve or die. And it's like, let's all go run out and start popping the tires of cars because we need to preserve the horse and buggy.
Yes. Very important.
This is a bigger discussion. He moves into more AI, but this is the second biggest problem with the things he has that I had with the things he had to say.
Filmmaker now put in a little bit of input and some creative thought, and you made a movie.
Because they're not capable of being creative, essentially.
Essentially, yeah.
Good Lord.
But you didn't make a fucking movie.
You didn't go to film
The
school.
AI
You didn't go to writing school.
Well, and his point, you didn't
What
make
do
a
you know
movie.
about? Yeah.
Well, who's to say what a movie
What do
is
you know
anymore?
about any of it?
Yeah. What are we basing it on? Are we basing it on financial success? Well, then a good chunk of Hollywood hasn't made one in a long time.
made the movie. Everyone has a few creative ideas. Anyone can be like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if we blah, 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 enter? And that's what you'll get. And then, as you guys know, just a few weeks ago, Disney announced they're going to start with short form, and it's only 300 characters, and everything's, there's no likeness that anybody.
Licensing their content through Chat GPT, I believe it was. No, it was OpenAI, I think.
Yeah, that's ChatGPT.
But yeah, okay.
He has to deal with any kind of lawsuits with initially, but eventually that's where we're going. I mean, guys,
I've yet to see the inherent problem. You're going to have to make this argument.
Yeah.
How many of all
Like
of
I
us,
said,
how many?
Show me where the value that Hollywood brings to to this deal is. Show me that value, and where it gives me more than what the AI would give me, and then we won't have this discussion.
Well, and
that's what you've got to do. You're not giving me what is the upside of banning AI in this situation.
Well, and I think
Just
his argument is there's an expectation that it is implied that it is bad. It's just like, well, they're doing this and they're damaging the industry. And it's just expected that you're supposed to understand the undercurrent of that statement is it's just implied that it's bad. You're going to have to tell me why that's bad.
Exactly.
Star Wars fans in the world wouldn't pay very good money to go make whatever your dream Star Wars movie would be.
Yes. Yeah.
That Kathleen Kennedy can't screw up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And that's the thing. Like you bring up a great point. I've always the same thing with social media. I feel the same way about AI. Is it going to allow people who never would have had an opportunity before because they didn't have this connection or that connection, whatever, make something and like put their visions out there or put their thoughts out there, like on social media and other people can see it? Yes. But it also just so happens to be that only about 1 in every 1,000 people have anything worth actually putting out there. Most,
according to you, not to the person creating it.
Yeah.
One of the biggest obstacles to making movies is funding. And he complained vehemently about funding. Well, if you eliminate funding issues and somebody wants to play with it's like, well, you're not a real artist with your shitty little drawing. And it's like a 2-year-old trying to express himself or the world around him by trying to draw shapes and understand the world around him. Well, you're not a real artist. You shitty little art. Well, so is it important to him?
By the way, the same attitude that was had by people when movies became a thing.
Yes.
It was a shameful art form.
Low class.
Most people suck at this. Most people suck at everything.
Okay. Doesn't mean everybody's going to watch it. You do realize good content will be rewarded for being good content.
everything. So what you're going to be left with is this swarm, this massive just AI slop and sludge that people are just pushing out. And yeah, that's where Disney is at creatively. They can't do anything other than remakes or sequels at this point in time. No original ideas. So go to the audience for your remashed remake AI slop idea, and you pay us for it. How about
Right.
that?
But so going back to answering the question of what is the vision for Wildwood, the vision of Wildwood is to be one of the last bastions that holds the line and safeguards certified organic human art and entertainment made by free range artists. Like it's not that we won't utilize AI.
Artists.
Well, go ahead, Ross. Why do you talk about this?
Well, free range artists, what, like chickens? Like so the artists get to have like a little bit more space than regular. Like, I guess I get what he said, but like, what a silly term to put in there. And like, again, where does this end? Like, what? So they could just make anything, or does somebody have to be there holding the purse strings, going like, no, I think maybe that's
free
a bad
range,
idea.
but somebody funds it.
Exactly. Like, oh, who's somebody? Is that you?
Wander the countryside exploring your art.
Nobody. There's a reason why this has. Again, they'll reference UA, United Artists, and that's fine and all. But even they said, like, look, pal, no. There was limits. There was somebody in the producer role saying yes, no, maybe.
Yeah.
To make things more efficient and optimized. There's plenty of, time-consuming tasks that you want to offload that from your human so that they can have more bandwidth to do more creative things.
This is the expectation and the hope of what AI is going to add. I don't think we could predict what it's going to do. So the hope is it's going to make jobs more efficient and make your job more convenient and all these other things. It might have a more dramatic effect than that, but the hope is it's going to add to certain industries rather than simply take over certain industries.
Mm-hmm.
But, we'll see about that. It's hard to predict what's going to happen. The brave new world, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not like anti-AI entirely. I think in a vacuum it's fine, but how it will be applied to this industry and every other industry is what we must be very careful with. And so when it comes,
how do you stop that? I'd hate to reiterate the same analogy I had before, but AI is a steaming locomotive and you can't stop it.
No.
And complaining that technology, like the Industrial Revolution was a steaming locomotive, and complaining it's happening, you're either going to have to adapt to the new world or get run over. I mean, that's just what's going to have to happen. Yeah. I understand the tendency to try and figure out a way to steer it in a way that's more positive and influential. You can't stop what's happening. You can't even really move this train.
He did mention that what his vision for it is that the human would be freed from the menial tasks to concentrate on the creative. But what is that? What does that actually look like? Are you the one that's going to say, well, this is a creative task and this is a menial task? Is it down to you, or is it down to the person who's using the AI?
I don't even think we could possibly fathom what this is going to look like.
No.
To Wildwood, it's not just all of the things I talked about previously, but it's literally to save human art and entertainment. If we
I suppose there's an argument that can be made, because what we've also obviously been very dismissive of a lot of his points, but there is an argument to be made of what does it mean? What will human created art mean anymore with the advent of AI? And that is human created art essentially valuable and necessary to preserve insofar as we intervene to make sure we preserve human created art? Is there an essential value that needs to that requires intervention in some respect to prevent AI from because he talks about art, and we sort of addressed this earlier, but he talks about art like it's got a desirable inherent value, and it's like maybe.
Is I mean, wouldn't AI make human art more valuable then?
Yeah.
And
Much like
that's kind of the-
artisans make
Yeah.
artisanal work
Yeah.
more valuable with the factory setting.
That's kind of how I take it. If you can make a masterpiece, but you can only do it through the AI, people are going to understand. Maybe they're not, but maybe what I should say is that people won't understand that it is better, but that people will raise their prices, and they'll say, well, if you want me to do this by hand, then it's going to cost X. If you want, AI to do it, well, it'll be cheaper. But that's down to you. What are your preferences? Do you want this to be all human effort, or do you want this to be something else?
Well, let's at least steer it back to the discussion of art. Like, what is art? Like, what value does it have? Is it important? Is it necessary? Depending on who you talk to, the answer is going to be different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some people will say it is the most important thing, and other people will say like, whatever.
I mean, if it's something you're obsessed with, and you've grown up going to museums, and you're really like community art where you guys do murals and you on the walls of buildings, and your borough in New York, or the cultural art of expression of certain feelings and different. Yeah, okay, all of that, and then talk to somebody who doesn't give a shit, and then be like, art is important, and we need to preserve it, and we need to spend your tax dollars to help preserve it because it's important. Pitch that to that person. I mean, even me, I've got a mixed feeling when it comes to art. Tell me it's important for me to drain my tax dollars to spend it on values and cultures that aren't mine and I don't agree with. But because it's human made, it has an inherent value for some reason.
I have mentioned on this podcast that I do enjoy going to museums with, I have a daughter who really enjoys art, and she's a pretty good artist, and we've gone to museums as a family and stuff. And we went to a community museum that was like modern art, and it was crap. We went to a fine art museum, and while there were one or two pieces that I would question the artistic integrity of those pieces individually, by and large, I did enjoy going to the art museum, the fine art museum. But I gotta say, I hate Picasso's work for the most part. I think it's all garbage, and so I don't get why people think that he's all that. Some of his earlier stuff I like, but like the Cubist abstract stuff, to me, that's all garbage.
Well, I understand
so,
what you're saying. I would like to steer it away from the subjective of what I feel about art, and objectively, why is it valuable?
Right. And objectively, why it's valuable, that's...
See, because I could sit here and go like, well, I don't like Picasso, but it's like, well, who gives a shit? Because that's my opinion. Right. Objectively, why does the world need to care about the preservation of human-created movies or art in general? AI is changing all of these things, and the ability to create it. This is an essential question that's going to have to be answered by humanity, or we're just going to dither about it, and it's going to replace things. Why is art valuable objectively? Not because I like it, not because you like it. Why is it valuable?
Well, and that's where I get into I'm not sure that I have a good
argument for it other than it is part of the human endeavor. It is humanity from the dawn of time has been pushed to create art. I don't know why. I can't create art to save my life.
Well, I mean, I
But,
have an idea of
I-
why, but
It's here.
we're trying to express ourselves. I mean, at its very
Yeah.
core,
Okay.
how we feel
Yeah, okay.
about ourselves, about the world, what we see, how we interpret it. I mean, that's really what art is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if
Totally.
that's art, then
yeah.
are you not expressing yourself by creating an AI image that helps you express how you feel about things? If AI
I would say
creates
so.
it quickly and more efficiently, is that different than somebody doing it by hand? Because there's less skill, somehow it's less valuable? Even though it's really just at its core still human expression?
I would say you have an argument there in being able to say that because it is because there is less skill going into the creation, that there is less value. I wouldn't say that there is no value, because if you're looking at it from the perspective of we are able to express ourselves, then you are still gaining that value through being able to express.
Well, maybe value is the wrong word. Maybe it's legitimacy. Because value denotes monetary value or personal value. It's like, I might create an AI image, and if it's valuable to me,
right? Yeah,
it might not be valuable to others. And we can say, is it valuable to art? So maybe the correct word is it as legitimate?
And I think that I could still bring the same arguments to bear on legitimacy in this instance, if it is not created entirely by human hands. Let's
Define
say
entirely.
From start to finish.
Okay. Is AI not just another tool? Do I have to use my thumb? Do I have to use my thumb to carve the marble?
No.
Okay. So define this then.
Well, if you're using
human hands from start to finish,
I would.
How about people who use Photoshop?
In what way? If you're like using the Photoshop the way that I do it, no, I wouldn't say it's really art, but if you're talking about using tools to express yourself, in as you did with obviously with carving the marble by your own fingernails, which is, yeah, that would be really bad. Start to finish, I mean, if the human comes up with the idea, the human by their own sweat creates it, as opposed to types it in, hits enter, and waits.
The human came up with the idea and created it in the prompt. So the value.
I'm not saying that the human didn't come up with the idea, but I see more value, I guess, in that if I come up with an idea, I type it in to ChatGPT. I'm not really doing the act of creation. I'm doing the act of idea, and I'm passing it on.
How are you not?
In this case, the tool to create it.
The image doesn't exist unless you type it in. You are creating it.
True. But I'm not creating it.
Yes, you are. It doesn't exist if you don't type it in.
Is creating it for me.
So I'm not creating an image if I use something to, if I'm in Photoshop and it's creating the fog effect. I'm not actually creating the pixels. I'm not modeling the figures. I'm not doing all of the necessary things. It skips a lot of tests. It skips a lot of steps that would take skill and effort across multiple years of training. And I'm skipping huge amounts of steps because the computer could do it for me. AI is just drawn to the extreme.
Yeah,
I
would say
can I can
that
type
to be
2
extremely
pages
short.
of information in exact detail of what I want it to look like, the style, the sun, the setting, the characters, what they look like, their faces, all of these things, so that it looks exactly like my intention, and it wouldn't exist if I did not create it. Simply because I'm not crafting it with my hands. I'm trying to push the idea of what we actually consider this to be, because people are getting a visceral reaction as to what AI is doing. And we don't like it
Yes.
because we're not standing in a room with a paintbrush or we're not carving it with a chisel. But it's like, it doesn't exist without human invention. In fact, AI in itself, in its very nature, is drawing from all of human creation.
True.
It is inherently drawing from all of human creation. It cannot exist without extrapolating and viewing all aspects of human artistic endeavor.
Would you say that you type in something and you say, do this a la the style of Michelangelo, hit enter, and it is on par with something that he did?
Well, see, I'm not sure my answer, which is why I'm bringing these questions of legitimacy, because we're running into this line of like, there was probably people at a time when they were talking about legitimacy of art with the advent of computers. Well, that's not real art.
True. Digital art for a long time was, I mean, it had the same questions, but
what about ASCII images with just characters? What about if there was a Mythbusters where they programmed something where it shot paintballs, and each paintball it basically represented an individual pixel on an image, and they shot it at a wall, and it created the Mona Lisa in seconds. Is that art?
Okay. Sure.
They didn't create the Mona Lisa. They just programmed something to shoot paintballs at a wall.
I wouldn't necessarily say that it is on par with the original Mona Lisa.
Okay, so now we're talking about legitimacy and degrees.
Yeah.
And I think this is a lot harder to define than we think it is.
I'm not arguing that there aren't degrees of legitimacy. That's why I was saying that if you were the one that cut the marble, you took your 2 hands and you had a mallet in one hand and a chisel in the other, and you carved that block of marble into a statue, I would say that is more legitimate art than, say, if you told ChatGPT to render a picture of a statue for you.
Okay, so if somebody doesn't use a chisel, is his art more legitimate? Are we talking about effort is what defines the value of art?
Again, not necessarily, because a painting would require less effort than, say, carving a block of marble. But again, it comes down to, are you the one that's painting it yourself, and you are putting in the work to learn the skill to create that art, or are you having
so once again, effort
render it according to your instructions?
So once again, effort is the argument as to what defines art.
And
that seems to be how you're defining it.
Well, I don't know that. I mean, yeah, it kind of does boil down to effort, but at the same time, if you are someone who has developed these skills over the years, maybe it's almost effortless for you. But it would still be more legitimate art than, again, if you were merely giving instructions to a paintball gun to splatter paint in a certain way.
I don't like the idea of defining whether or not something is legitimate based upon whether or not if someone put more effort in or has more skill. If I'm bad at drawing and have no skill, and I sit there and I create an image, I use a piece of chalk and I create an image,
Mhm.
It has a lot of value to me.
True.
And I have less skill, and I put in less effort. I use one piece of chalk. I didn't spend years on this image painted upon a wall. I don't like the idea of defining art that way. Before we get into talking circles, I would like to address two things. One is not that I have a definitive answer, but I think the reason why people have so much issue with art is with the AI art is because it just doesn't feel right to us, rather than we have a real definitive answer as to why we don't like it, because it's too easy, especially when people have been creating art forever. I'm not even saying it's art. I'm just questioning, well, then we need to answer what art is and what it means to make art. Because if we're going to be really upset about where AI is going, and we don't like it that AI is creating images because, well, it doesn't take 200 people and you don't have legitimate directors and actors. And it's like, well, then what is art, and how do we define these things, and what makes it more legitimate or more valuable than other things? And then I would like Ross to actually tell us where we're going wrong. What do you think about this whole thing?
Which aspect of it?
Well, just in general, because I was trying to break down if we're going to be upset about AI and what it's going to do to the artistic endeavors like movies, then what is art anyway?
Well, because I agree with you in that defining art certain ways is going to have problems, right? But I can't disagree with Jason, not to be the fence sitter, and I'm not really fence sitting. It's just
Mr.
I
Tim
am
Pool over
acknowledging.
here.
Yeah, well, you know me, Timothy Pool, the dim fool. But I'm merely acknowledging the reality of like there is something different about AI, and yes, it could just end up being a tool we use, or on the other hand, it could be used to end up making a lot of. I mean, streaming went from people playing games like either through let's plays or to like entertain or whatever to people literally sitting there saying the same phrase over and over again, or like if somebody comments with a certain emoji, they have to like a robot say whatever phrase or word or whatever. Like I mean, like literal brain rot, and that's with people.
Yeah.
Let alone with what we could do with AI, right? Like, because there is something different about AI. Like, yeah, like you can make the effort argument in being like, well, then everything from CGI all the way down to like a shovel could define art differently, or or a paintbrush. But there is something inherently different about being able to type in like some phrases, a paragraph, a few paragraphs, and getting something so much more complete. And I mean, as time goes on, quality and we ever would have been able to do prior to, and the fact that like the skills that we had before to make that stuff, I mean, is not being used in any way. Especially where I mean, the reality is AI does not make anything. It just it consumes and then reappropriates.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but at the same time, these arguments were made for AI. They were made for not AI, for like CGI.
Yep.
Or animation, for movies. I mean, these arguments have all been made before. It's just this one just seems so much more complicated. It's hard to really.
I
The
agree.
defining aspect of this is really hard.
I agree, and I'm trying to press that it's a lot more complicated than simply, well, AI is bad, because if we're going to argue that art needs to be preserved, or more specifically, as Zachary is talking about, movies, then we need to find what art really is and why it's valuable. And if we can't even come to a definitive about what art really means, that, well, it's human created, and it's like, well, then no computers? Like where are our lines drawn? Because it gets fuzzier and fuzzier as you go. And despite the extremes of a guy making it with no tools is clearly human made, and a guy making it with AI is almost not human made. There are so many degrees along the way of, if we're trying to preserve what art is, we should really consider what art really is, what its value is, and define exactly where our lines are of what this means. Because it's like, well, we're going to make a movie, and we're going to make a movie at my new studio, and we're going to do stuff, and it's going to cost $2 million to do all of the CGI, or I can type it into ChatGPT and it happens immediately. And it looks exactly the way I wanted to with the other thing. And it's like, well, one has more value because people sat and did it and put in effort, and the other one has less value because it was easy.
You know, it is interesting that you say it that way, because you can then argue that if you're using, let's say, you're using ChatGPT to accomplish certain tasks, and then a human stitches it all together, that could be considered more legitimate than if you just did it all through AI.
I suppose. But once again, it comes down to, I guess, one took more time.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily, in this case, you can also attribute
cost
this
more
back
money?
to human agency.
Okay.
That if I'm doing it all by hand, using the tools myself, the techniques myself, I am employing human agency at every step of the design development process. Whereas if I am doing this with AI, I am ceding some of my human agency to the computer to make design. I can't really say choices, because I wouldn't say that that the computer is actively choosing those, but a lot of the design agency is taken away from the human individual as you're ceding that over to the computer.
I don't know. AI could probably get so good that you could, in exhaustive detail, explain exactly what you want, and it'll recreate it.
Oh, I'm sure it will at some point.
Let's at least look at this from a different angle. I was reminded of the fact that when we created factory produced material products, they are not only better. How do I define this? More uniform, but in many ways better quality. I mean, obviously you can have poor factory made stuff, but
Yeah.
like sturdier, we're certain, like repetitive over and over again. Sturdy chair, sturdy chair, sturdy chair over and over again. And then you have somebody make a chair with their bare hands, and it's uneven and lumpy and asymmetrical, like not symmetrical sort of thing. And I'm reminded in that vein of the idea that the Japanese have. Well, they'll create an object like a bowl or something, and they won't like it because it's too perfect, so they'll intentionally put a chip into it. And then in many ways, what makes us human is our imperfection, is that we don't produce things amazingly perfect, that things are a bit more sloppy and a bit more imperfect and a bit more difficult. And that's sort of what makes something more human, I suppose. Something to think about. We're not going to come up with the answers here.
What?
But these are things where, as a species, we're going to have to come to an understanding of what exactly are we talking about, because AI is just going to replace it. Let's shift on a little bit.
Don't fucking build a beachhead and say, Gandalf that and be like, you shall not pass. Like, at this point, we have got to hold that line. And I believe that
you can't stop it.
when we do, we accomplished two great things. One, philosophically, we are doing what we ought to be doing, which is safeguarding human art and entertainment for ourselves, for our children, for future generations. Like, I want my kids to grow up in a world where they at least have the option to be paid as an artist. If
So we're preserving the industry so that you can make art and be paid? And that art isn't valuable in and of itself? Am I being uncharitable with that interpretation?
No, it's like, on one hand, I guess I get what he's saying, but the thing is, like, things don't last forever. Like,
We need to save these jobs.
you got to save these jobs.
Well, I think this kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about the horse and buggy. It's like, I want to grow up in a world where my kids can have the choice of learning to drive a horse and buggy if they want. It's like, well, why?
And they'll just get left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, not to be, like, I don't know, like, leapfrogging, but, like, the AI world itself will contract. I mean, like,
Yeah, we're in a bit of a bubble. It will happen.
yeah, I mean, even in that aspect, even as AI improves and the technology with AI improves, like, all these data centers that are getting made, some of them are going to close up. Let's just be real about that for a minute. Like, things will get more efficient. Things will get more size efficient. Like, like, even that aspect of life is like, this is not like the Matrix isn't happening before our eyes. Like, that's so. But yeah, it is like saying, well, I want my kid to grow up with a horse and buggy. It's like, I mean, they can anyway, but why?
And that might be the question future generations ask of people going, well, I don't like it. And I want to sit and make stuff on my own. And they might go, why? You can just have these stories and these. I mean, it'll get to the point where it's like, what is even a movie anymore? Will that even be a thing?
everything is just ubiquitous AI, everything, then why would any kid learn how to play guitar again?
Sure. I mean, here's a point I've been avoiding because I knew it was going to be a sort of final big discussion, and I don't want to bogart Zachary's sort of the things he has to say about AI, because he goes on quite extensively about this slop and the terrible content that's created. Actually, let's let him finish up a bit, and then I'll make my final points on what he has to say, because I want him to get to a few moments here.
Why would any kid learn how to be an actor or anything that the AI can just go, just done? Why would they do
that's a question.
Actual financial incentive that might underpin that on some level. But also, economically speaking, I think it is a successful business model, because when the rest of the industry is all zigging and everyone's offering for pennies on the dollar the ability for anyone to go make whatever they want with AI, they're just like right now, how many like vinyl record sales have gone up in the last 10 years?
Sure.
Because deep in all of us, there's this like, but I want the real. Where's the real?
Valuing something that's a bit more handmade and a bit less artificial. I went through a phase where I did not want to listen to well-made content. Like, I got into like bad garage bands with like bad sounding guitars and stuff, because it felt more natural and more real and had an interesting flair to it. I mean, this can open up a desire to get more authentic experiences. It can, hopefully.
Absolutely.
I have a pessimistic outcome at the end, but we'll see.
Real. Where's the human, tactile, imperfect thing? I want that thing, or even organic food. Like, that's not the majority of the food that we can get, but a lot of us are like, that's the only food I want. And if I have to pay a little bit extra money so I can get the real stuff, the organic stuff, the stuff that's not poisoned, then yes, I would like that, please. So that's the vision of Wildwood. It's a movie studio, living community, that's amenitized like a resort where people can come and visit and we can do all kinds of fun.
I don't know if we'll actually function the way he hopes. I hope
I
it
don't
works
think
out
so.
really well. It sounds a little utopian to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Immersive, artistic
It's going to be
storytelling.
kumbaya and
There's a lot of things
Yeah.
I won't get into now, but I mean, lots of fun details with that. And then letting that be hopefully a place that is giving artists a truly libertine place to work, that's also safeguarding our jobs against what is going to be a
And there's the key. He's worried about safeguarding their jobs.
Yeah.
yep.
Which
Which
I understand, but outside of that perspective, I struggle to care.
yeah.
Sorry, Ross, you were going to say something?
Oh no, I was gonna say. I was just gonna say, which is understandable.
Yes.
But like,
Yeah.
you may be fighting the tide here. You know.
They're programmers that are paranoid. There
Yeah.
were guys who made buggies for horses who are concerned about the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's stop those cars.
a lot of ubiquitous AI.
Well, you've said some things that I do find heartening and encouraging. I'm kind of the AI guy on the panel. And so I find it heartening that you're making some really good things. The things that I think Hollywood is getting really afraid of about AI is that Hollywood has been making some real big stinkers these days. And I think there's a big concern in Hollywood because
so good that it almost won't matter. Like, yes, as a talented person, you'll be able to get in and make more nuanced changes and additive things, and let's say, you know, construct something that could even very objectively be called better. But even an absolute layman with minimal creative understanding and skill and vision, literally children that will say to this AI, they'll say, I want a hippopotamus and a dolphin that go and they slide down the rainbow and they go and then they're in space and they, you know, I mean, this is, I don't.
So, what if they like it?
Yeah.
He comes across with this weird elitist perspective of, well, you know, anybody could do it. It's like, why can't anybody do it? We're all humans. Why can't we create art or express ourselves? Or,
well, on top of that, like, has he not seen, like, remember, especially in the early days of YouTube and places like that, like just a kid making just a terrible video with like their mom's camcorder or whatever. You know what I mean? Like just a big piece of crap video talking about Minecraft or whatever. Like that is, yeah, welcome to the internet. Like this is nothing new.
I don't know what child this is exactly.
Why did you choose a retarded child for this example?
Yeah, it's a very
like Jeremy a little bit. Yeah,
it's a very specific child that you chose.
A very specific child, but they'll, you know, it'll be like kind of like whatever mishmash inputs, and then watch what the AI does. It'll make it something incredible,
better than anything we can make, cheaper, faster,
It'll be, even if it's not, you know, Nolan level. I mean, guys, to your point, how much garbage is put out in Hollywood for the last 20 years and people still go watch it and eat it. And they eat it up. And they eat it up. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to shit on anybody in the franchise, but I don't think the Fast and the Furious franchise is really elevated entertainment, and it is a multi-billion-dollar franchise that I'm sure plenty of you have gone and gotten lots of popcorn and ate it all up.
Simply because you define it as slop and bad entertainment doesn't mean everybody else does.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't like Avatar. I think it's bad storytelling. It's bad art. I'm in the minority. It does very well financially, and people love those movies. Simply because I don't like it doesn't mean other people shouldn't, or they're wrong. I understand that you're frustrated with sort of the creative. I mean, this has been a thing with those who are really obsessed with the art of movie making anyway. And then they see these big blockbuster movies and they're just like, this isn't, you know, real art where you film 40 takes in a sewer with, you know, shitty lighting and it's like, okay, you know, it reminds me of what's his name? He passed away recently. That he was really obsessed with art, and he had the goofy hair with the art of filmmaking. Murder mystery. He made a murder mystery that was set in like Seattle.
Oh God, I'm not bringing up anything. I'm sorry.
Director of Dune. That's the David Lynch.
Oh. Yeah.
Lynch has a certain perspective on what it means to do art, and his obsession with creating art and experimental. He's very big into experimental art. Yeah, not everybody values his movies. In fact, I would say most people value the Fast and Furious over David Lynch films. And I understand that if you're an insider in art, and their insider art is a term of people who self-fillet each other about how much they know more about art than each other, the elitist essence. And you can watch a David Lynch film and sort of view it through this lens of like, oh, the artistic value of the creativity and what he's trying to do. And then lament the fact that there's a more general audience, a bit more dumbed down and perhaps more, it's like pop, not even just pop art. It's regurgitated, overdone. It's like the Mona Lisa is a piece of art, and then it's become so popular and so dissipated that it's like recreated on food stamps or on a stamp. I don't know why I said food stamp. On a stamp, or it's recreated in a black and white on the back of a bus, or you know what I mean? And then suddenly it's devalued because it's become more general audience. So these are questions that the art community has been addressing forever. So what does art mean? And what value it is? And there's an idea that you preserve the value of art by making it more restrictive and more elitist and more insider and more. And who's to say that somebody who buys sort of kitsch artistic material has less value than somebody who has a one of a kind piece from a famous artist? And simply because you don't like Fast and the Furious doesn't mean it's any less legitimate than something filmed with 5 guys over 4 years with blood, sweat, and tears and struggle. Yeah, Fast and the Furious might seem more dumbed down and more general audience, but the general audience who are who they are for a reason. They like more general, accessible things.
Mm-hmm.
They ate it all up.
Well, I'm sorry.
And you're telling me that a child with some good AI couldn't just be like, and then they fly to the moon in a car.
So, what if he does?
That might be cool.
Waiting for that.
This is what we're talking about. So I'm sorry, I don't think that it will necessarily. And more than that, you said that the good will rise to the top. Let me ask you a question. Do you really think that you've seen all the greatest stuff that's on Amazon or Netflix? Do you even know everything that's on Amazon and Netflix?
No.
Why would that matter?
There's some gems
For
on
all
there.
we know, there are dozens of gems that are sitting on Netflix that just haven't found the audience. And yet when you look at the top 10, I mean, this is part of the problem with these algorithms. And
yeah, so this is a separate point. Sure, the algorithm pushes certain things forward and doesn't expose people to other sorts. But the reason why those are pushed forward is because they like it. Right. Or there's purposeful manipulation of the algorithm. It happens all the time.
Yep.
This is a whole separate point to make. You hope good art is rewarded for being good. Look, there are movies that are very good that don't get as much attention or even remotely as popular.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's the nature of the beast. I don't know what to tell you. A great well-made, interesting stories are sometimes not something that most people want to consume. Sometimes people just want simple, fun adventure. There's a lot of people lament, and there could be a deep discussion about the state of Star Trek and what it's turned into.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people lament that Star Trek isn't what it used to be, and it used to be the story about talking about ethics and ideas and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I mean, kind of, but you're talking about TNG. The original series wasn't even really as obsessed with discussing ethics and morality as TNG is. So when you say, well, Discovery isn't real Star Trek, and it's like, well, then where are you defining Star Trek? Because if you're going to define it by TNG and not the original series, well, sure, it is not like that. And then what are our expectations of what this is supposed to be? I like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. Does it feel like Next Generation? No. It is a bit more poppy and a bit more actiony and a bit more goofy. Yeah, it is.
Most certainly.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it's invalid to like it. It doesn't mean that it you know, I think my mother said the other day that those are basically my uncle's favorite movies, is those Star Trek movies. So his opinion is invalid because it doesn't fulfill the expectation of what you think Star Trek is supposed to be.
No.
And even if they were successful or not, he can really like those movies. And guess what? I think Discovery is bad Star Trek because of what I expect Star Trek to be. But guess what? That doesn't matter if somebody likes Star Trek or likes Star Trek Discovery. But I guess not enough people like Discovery for it to be sustainable. There was a large anti-Discovery audience. There are issues with how this is being approached, as opposed, I suppose, is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
And the rankings of these top 10s. Whatever ends up on the top 10 kind of stays on the top 10 because people just go, well, it's on the top 10. I should go check it out. And then therefore it gives it another fucking like. And
yeah, I mean, it's more complicated than that. They're popular because they're popular, and sometimes they're being pushed to be popular. It's like with the YouTube algorithm. Our podcast would get a lot of attention if it was put on the front page of everybody. And
Yeah.
And does that mean our podcast is good? Not necessarily. Usually,
absolutely.
Yeah. Usually, popular content is rise to the top because it's popular for a reason, but not always. I mean, the algorithm is an issue. This has been an issue with artificial manipulation of it for political elections and all these. Google handpicking who they like and who they don't like to push forward in searches, and yeah, this is a massive problem. I don't think it's simply relegated to problems with the industry. It's the algorithm is an issue everybody deals with.
Another vote. And so it just stays there. And people are sheep. A lot of people are very sheepish. And they'll be like, well, I just, because it's maddening to scroll through Netflix sometimes. Watching Netflix might as well just be scrolling through the menus until you.
But you can make an AI to put prompts into the AI that makes movies. And
that's a problem that's actually going to happen forward, because not only are we can make whatever we want to and make a film. Now you're going to have AI self-replicating.
Yes.
And then it's like, well, what even we have here anymore?
What is going on?
AI creating prompts to tell other AI to create other things. And
oh, I'm so excited for the Ouroboros of AI creating for AI's sake.
Well, because it's like, what type of videos? Because I hate the short TikTok sort of thing, the doom scrolling. Well, what type of videos get attention? Stupid, simple things, guy dancing, dog doing something or whatever. So now you just tell AI the sort of parameters of what are popular, and then that tells other AI what to do, and then it produces it and puts it out to get clicks so that somebody can earn money in India or whatever.
Thank God.
It'll be a snowballing effect of weird Yeah.
Now you have an infinite amount of slop that all of humanity could not make that in a year that would make in a second.
Yeah.
And that's all that's all the companies care about is watch time, right? That's
Exactly.
the big key.
These books and what's suggested.
Yeah, there are questions as to how we calculate what's valuable watch time. Yeah, there are other problems with the industry. Absolutely. Not something I want to get into detail here. We need to run this out.
AI could not make. AI could not make.
Apart, Lisa.
AI could not
mention AI is taking away our ability in many ways to create, because as a teacher, I see students using it and they use it as a substitute for their brain.
This is an issue we're going to talk about in a moment. We need to move past.
And that's going to have a lot.
This incredible technology that allows them to go and make something epic, like something truly, genuinely amazing. Best case scenario is that they're able to make that and they've still unemployed thousands of people in the process.
Yep.
So
that to me is something that, again, I know that this is directly affecting me and people like me in my industry, but what are we going to do if we're all not just looking out for whatever respective industry you're in? Everyone needs to wake up and ask yourself, where will this industry that I'm in where is it going to be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road?
Jobs don't exist just so you can have a job. They have to hold some sort of value. I know it's scary.
That would be really convenient for me.
Produce something.
It's scary to make clothes by hand as factories are pumping out clothes quickly and efficiently and cheaply. I get it. I understand.
And I don't see it being a very happy ending. I mean, I really don't like
maybe
to be a wet blanket when it comes to these things, but guys, I mean, listen to Tristan Harris. Listen to any of the people that have been people that really understand this technology.
Fine, if AI tech stopped.
For all the gems on Netflix, that we
while only using 4 vacation days. Well, hey, there you go.
I mean, I think the fair argument is, it's not like Hollywood is doing a lot better. I don't know. I don't remember exactly where the spot is that I wanted to point at. He talked about he has all these ideas to try and do things differently and think outside the box when it comes to creativity, which I find very encouraging. I would like the idea of thinking outside the box. And he came up with ideas with video games where it's like, what about doing like an episodic video game? And I was like, well, they did that.
Yeah, it's been done.
Yeah, multiple times. Telltale or episodic.
Yep.
And then he goes, well, what about an interactive like TV show? And I was like, I mean, they kind of did that.
It's been kind of done, yes.
Quantum Break was basically a TV show video game. It was weird hybrid too. And he's talking about, well, I want to do stuff nobody's done before. People have done these things. not to burst his bubble, but I'm encouraged by the idea of thinking outside the box of these types of things. I think the one thing I've been holding back in an interesting part of this whole discussion is perhaps the ultimate issue of what is this going to do to humanity. It's hard to say. Like imagine what cell phones, how has it affected us? Or our ability to search up information, how it's affected long-term memory. Or things like TikTok, how it affects our ability to get short, small endorphin hits over and over and over again, where we don't feel full joy, but we just push away sadness and constantly scroll through the internet. The constant need for new things, novelty becomes sort of an addiction, where I need to see a new video that's a little different or a little more neat or a little more attractive. Or I think the biggest, scariest part of this is not even necessarily the preservation of art, but what it does to us as a species psychologically. How AI is going to affect us down the road. And there are no definitive answers to what that's going to do. I mean, AI slop being what it is, sure, but when the slop in and of itself, whatever, but then you get inundated with slop and it affects how you see the world or how your brain works. I mean, they've talked about how, because of how we consume information now, our long-term memory is being affected, or how we access information, that how we read is affecting things. Like digital reading is different than paper reading. Apparently, when you read in a physical book, you actually retain the information differently, because you get a visual idea of where you are in the book, so you have an idea of how far along, and it helps you sort of remember the information chronologically, as opposed to if I just read it from an e-reader, you don't get that effect. And what does that mean, good or ill, to the species? I mean, he doesn't have an incorrect point where it's like you could just create art so nobody was learning how to play the guitar, and it's like, yeah, and it's not just the value of the art itself, is what it does to us personally. There is a value earned in the journey of the creation to the person, not necessarily to the art. Like learning how to play the guitar, practicing, creating your own song. There's a personal development that happens in that human being that is of immense value. I think more so than what is created. There's an intense amount of value in learning how to play the piano or learning how to paint and getting better at it. That journey is innately human. The trial and error, the failure and discovery, the journey of developing a skill and getting better. I think that in itself is more valuable than simply just the art. The creation has a lot of value to the person who does it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm a little bit preachy on this. Let's wrap it up really quickly. Some final thoughts.
I get the idea that we want to, from his perspective of like wanting to preserve or at least keep Hollywood from completely being erased, right? I totally get why this is scary to him, and why, like being wistful for like, oh, Hollywood though. But the reality is, as I said earlier, like Hollywood has always been in flux. There have been periods of stability, but like it will, the changes will come hard and fast. I mean, TV damn near killed Hollywood. And that's when TV was in its most infant state. So it's always going to be something, and Hollywood will change or it will die, at least as we know it. And personally, I think that's already happened. I think it's just clinging on to this image, this notion of what it was. I think that is long since passed. But like being elitist about who can make what and where and when is not going to save it, and it's foolish to think that it will help.
Yeah, I think that happen is that people who don't embrace AI, who fight against it, they're going to end up being pushed out faster by the people who do embrace it. They're just not going to be able to compete, and because they can't compete, they're going to end up losing out on the business. Now, as do we save Hollywood? Do we save theaters? I would say that if the value is there, it will be saved. But if the value is not, I just don't really see the value, at least these days, in Hollywood or in movie theaters. They're too expensive, both of them. I do lament the death of physical media. I really don't want to do the subscription thing because, I'm paying tons of money for stuff I don't use and don't want. If I really want it, I want to get it on physical and keep it.
Sweet. Yeah, once again, this is not something we would normally do by addressing another podcast and what they're doing, but he had a discussion where I sat there going, I got to talk about this. I got to address some of the things he said. And not even because I have all the answers, but because it felt like and honest, he's their guest, so nobody really pushed back on stuff, but it felt like it was just, he's coming from the inside of something, and I started asking, it's like, well, who says movies need to be protected? And who says the industry is what it is? Good on him for trying to make an effort to change things too. But Hollywood has been busted beyond belief. And it's hard to make the argument that AI is slop when they don't produce anything good either.
Or value.
Yeah.
Well, when your movies suck and you're saying, don't make stuff on your own through AI. And it's like, why? Your movies suck. In fact, they talk down to me and tell me I'm a bad person. Why should I be afraid of AI? Anyway, it's been a special podcast. Here, I'm going to do the weirdest way of going through news dump in history. We're just going to go through it really quickly. Rob Reiner passed away. It was really unfortunate, and it seemed kind of sudden.
Yeah, disturbing.
Sympathies to his family. It looks like his son probably did it. Killed his Rob Reiner and his wife. Reiner wife. Sorry, I don't know her name. Terrible event. He was an activist politically, but that's really beside the point. It was a tragedy, and he made some of the greatest movies out there. Some of people's favorite movies are movies he made, like Princess Bride. So yeah, horrible tragedy, and sympathies to the family. Trailer for Doomsday came out. It's really just the Captain America one. I saw it. It can't be considered a trailer in any respect. It's just him riding a motorcycle, walking to in a house, and he's got a baby. And it's like 5 seconds. Not worth any time. Most anger is, oh, well, Captain America is coming back. Like, what are we going to do with Anthony Mackie's Captain America and how disappointed people are? Okay. All right. Let's see. James Gunn says that Batman is boring, and he thinks he could do it better. We've had the 10th anniversary of Force Awakens.
Oh my God! I can't believe I missed it. Oh wait.
Yeah, there's been a lot of reflection as to what Star Wars was and what it meant to everybody. Whatever. There's some article Jason put here. What is this?
So Ryan Johnson says that he was hoping for fan pushback rather than being afraid of doing anything that shakes it up. And so, he was hoping that fans would push back, I guess, against what he was doing in Star Wars, but it was always his intention to basically disrespect Star Wars.
Well, not about disrespect, but I think I heard a comment before where he was intentionally trying to make something controversial. A Gaston movie is in the works.
Ugh. Like we need that. So stupid. Nobody wants a movie about Gaston.
Well, he's the real hero of the movie.
Listen, he's all about keeping that woman in her place, all right? And for that, he's a hero.
He is a hero. Jason, walk through the logic of this. Gaston is a guy in a village. This weird autistic girl who reads and keeps to herself wanders into the forest and gets kidnapped by a werewolf. And he decides to go rescue this girl on his own to the point where he has a personal fist fight with the werewolf. That sounds more heroic than anything.
Sounds like quite the man. And really the kind of man any girl would be lucky to have.
Any girl would be lucky to have. I'm just saying, obviously, the way he's presented, he's sexist and all the, But if you think about it, if abstractly, you pull away, and it's like, there could be an argument that he was acting quite heroically in that film. I mean,
you could, except except for the way he actually acted.
Well, he's not inherently evil. Maybe
he's just a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, an asshole, sure.
Yeah.
But it's not like he's like Mephistopheles or something, or he turns into a dragon to eat a guy. Like, he's not even Scar, who murders his brother. He's just kind of an asshole, and he wants to go rescue her because he thinks she should be his.
Well, at that point in the movie, he didn't need to rescue her. She was already free. She had come back to the village.
Yeah, well.
Oh, so he just wants vengeance. Well, he's a good guy then.
And at that point, he just wanted to kill the beast.
Well, it's a giant werewolf. Who wouldn't want to fight that thing?
Because the lady of his dreams would rather be with the beast than with him.
Well, he doesn't know she wasn't seduced.
Yeah, I mean,
he has
he's
beast
trying to protect
powers.
other young ladies from this creep out.
I mean,
woods.
she could have total full-blown Stockholm syndrome over this. I get that, but his motive wasn't "I'm going to rescue her." His motive was that beast has something that I want, and I want this girl, and she would rather be with this beast than with me. So I got to go kill it.
Fur. He had fur.
Yeah, furries are bad people. Yeah, I'm still on Gaston's side.
That's true.
The beast had it coming. We don't know what weird magical spells he was casting on her. The true hero of the story, Gaston. Here's something that's encouraging. Sony filed a patent for AI-powered censorship that would alter video and video games real time and censor real time using AI.
I did.
Oh, yeah,
hate that.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
That's loathsome and horrible.
The rumor is that there's some evidence that the Batman Part 2 is going to draw from Long Halloween.
Oh,
that could be good.
Yeah, which is an amazing story. So, yes.
Interesting choice.
Oscars is leaving ABC and going to YouTube.
Oh my god! Oh,
the last Oscars, I think it's the 100th Oscars or something, will be the last one.
Wow, that is. I mean,
It
listen.
couldn't get
the
off
reality is
TV
they'll get more
fast enough,
viewers,
in my opinion.
but that is shameful for them.
We had Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight. Everybody has been watching every Jake Paul fight, hoping that he gets the crap beat out of him because nobody likes Jake Paul. And Jake Paul, instead of fighting a lower ranked boxer or a 50-year-old man, he fought genuinely one of the scariest men in boxing, and he got knocked the F out. He flattened him, and everybody kind of wanted that to happen. And people were like, well, you have to give him credit. He got in the ring with him. And it's like, what do you mean credit?
He's a moron.
Anthony is a scary dude. And he destroyed Paul to the point where it was just like, yeah, well, he lasted 6 rounds. And it's like, okay. He got knocked down like 3 times one round. And if you watch the match, because I've seen highlights, it's really weird. It's a weird match. I don't know if there's something weird going on with the expectations of the fight. Paul, more than once, multiple times, went down to his knees and grabbed his legs like he was shooting for the legs, like this was MMA.
like as a wrestling match.
Oh, and they're just letting that happen, huh?
Well, and the guy would stand there and be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a tactic to just get
him on the back of the head.
Well, I don't know if you can't hit there, but I don't know if it's a tactic to just get take a breath, or he just didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why the thing lasted 6 rounds. He was never going to beat this guy, and I think the delusion that he is one of the greatest boxers and as legitimate as anybody else has kind of been popped. He was fighting an Olympian. The guy he fought is 6'6" and a monster. He's not only is he 6'6", but he is fast and hits like a son of a gun. Yeah, and he knocked Paul down. He won in a knockout.
Oh,
And apparently Paul claimed that it broke his jaw. So
yeah, it looks like it broke it in two places.
so I all right. She-Ra is leaving Netflix, and a bunch of people are upset. Apparently, shippers are really upset that She-Ra is leaving Netflix.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Why?
Announced
Do
5
not
years
feel
ago.
sorry for them.
Announced 5 years ago the Vin Diesel Arc 2. If you remember Arc 2's trailer with Vin Diesel.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, I do.
Yeah, it was announced 5 years ago. Has hit another release date delay.
Oh, it's good.
And the
Bad.
Kotaku
Really
article
bad
writer was like, I don't think this is ever coming out.
Wow, that's a bold thing to just say.
Diamond Comics, despite a year under Chapter 11, is now just going to Chapter 7, and they're going to have to liquidate their assets. So, yeah, Diamond Comics is done. What do we have, Jason?
Star Wars, or Lucasfilm, Disney, whoever, they finished filming Star Wars Starfighter, which doesn't come out until 2027. But apparently they've wrapped up filming.
Oh,
Yeah. The next one, Lucasfilm, it was being sued in England by, let me figure out who it was. Let's see. Darn it, where is it? Tyburn Films Productions. So, Rogue One comes out, and they need to use Grand Moff Tarkin, the Peter Cushing, who died in 1994, right? Well, apparently in 1993, he signed a deal with Tyburn Film Productions to appear in a television film, and that never happened, apparently, because he died. So Tyburn was suing Disney, Lucasfilm, because they resurrected and used Peter Cushing for Rogue One, and they were claiming that they had the right to do that because he'd signed a contract with them in 1993. And the British court finally just threw it out, saying it is impossible to identify anything at all that belonged to Tyburn, which can be said to have been transferred to Lucasfilm or Lunac. So the case couldn't continue, so they threw it out. And then the last one, James Cameron is being sued again over
no.
Avatar. Yeah. So the guy who originally sued James Cameron back with the first Avatar, even though it was proved that James Cameron started the whole Avatar thing before this guy ever started working for him, and they threw that out. He is now suing him again to halt the release of Avatar Fire and Ash, and suing for $500 million because he's this action is not an attempt to relitigate prior claims. It challenges new acts of copying that occurred for the first time in Avatar 2. So apparently, there's a ideas from a science fiction story called KRZ that this Eric Ryder is complaining that he brought those into Cameron's, I don't know, field of vision, I guess, if you will, when he was making Avatar, and so he adopted those, but they were really ideas from this other guy, Eric Ryder, and so yeah.
Stolen scripts and ideas are a long running tradition in Hollywood, if you will.
Oh yeah.
Whether or not he can prove it is another story.
Yeah.
This is going to be our last episode before the Christmas break. It'd be nice if Silver had joined us, but the degenerate she was unable to join. Yeah, Christmas is coming. Who knows what the future holds with AI? And there's a lot of disconcert around, jobs and where things are going. And where am I going with this? Life presents a lot of difficulties, and some people feel differently about the holiday than others because it's hard to celebrate because, Christmas is often related with financial stuff, whether you're a parent and trying to afford gifts for your kids, or whether you're a single person trying to get by. And it's often people who have resentment with the holiday is often related to the fact that either they don't have people around them, or the stress of being able to afford it and the debt involved. The holiday should be, as always, the points in your life are more marked by the people and the time you spend and the experiences you have more than the things you accumulate. And the holiday should always be down to the type of people you spend your time with and, the family and love you share with each other. Mm-hmm. The Christmas can be a stressful and unhappy time and a lonely time. And if you find yourself lonely, please do reach out to people who are your friends. Or, try and interact outside of that. Don't let that sort of thing consume you.
Yeah.
Christmas is a great time to remind yourself of things that have value, even if it isn't financial. But Merry Christmas. We will, Christmas is what, Thursday? The podcast proper will re-meet obviously on Saturday. Yeah, I mean, if we had a bigger following, I would do something like a stream on Thursday for those who have nothing going on, but we don't. But enjoy yourselves. Feel free to reach out and say hello and have a good holiday.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christ's birthday.
Happy Jesus.
I knew somebody whose grandmother would make them make them sing "Happy Birthday" to Jesus.
Oh my God, what is it? Full Metal Jacket? Jesus.
She would have a cake and stuff. It's weird.
Oh,
they'd have to gather around and sing.
Love and hate this. Yeah.
If you're in Japan, go get your chicken.
Enjoy. You're welcome, Japan.
All right, everybody, it's time to get out of here. Good night.
Good night.
If you like the show, follow Rhett, Jason, Ross, and Silver, the world's most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter at DGPodcast or on Instagram at DistractedGamers. If you liked or hated what you heard here today, you can email them at thedistractedgamers@gmail.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason would care, since he hasn't any, of course.
Oh my God, it's so juicy.